price.
Cool. Yeah, Felix and I just started recording. Felix has some cool thing going on in the middle. I can't see what's going on there. Like YouTube video or something like that. But yeah, welcome everybody.
Looks like the progress of the hard fork. If I'm correct.
Interesting. Yeah, happy EOS Independence Day, everybody. This is has it happened yet, the hard fork, or what is the progress exactly?
Supposed to have started commencing 4 minutes ago, 1300 UTC. I don't know how long the process itself is. I guess either it dies or it survives. That's what it is. And it should be surviving.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's a go no go call. So I don't know. I just remember like during the day of the official launch of EOS, it took a bit.
All I know is all my EOS tokens just disappeared from all my wallets. I think they're screwing us over. This is block one.
But I read something, all the BPs, actually, all the active BPs, they had already confirmed that it will be a go today. So I think it's just a procedural thing to actually do it as well online, blockchain.
Okay.
Everyone is holding their breath here.
What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Vlad, go and save the day and tell him to go to the Antelope Leap and fix it. I'm just joking. It looks like you're comfortable in your chair.
Hey, is anybody?
Yeah, I was just joking though. What's that, CAC?
Is anybody else going to participate in that community poker tournament on Sunday?
I don't know. What time is it at?
I will.
At 2 p.m. Eastern.
Cool. Do you guys play much poker?
I don't know. Nope. I mean, EOS Nation is putting it on. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like the winner gets money to go towards the Pomelo grant of their choice.
Yeah, so, I'll probably be there.
So if we can get a bunch of Eden Fractal people to play, and they can just play for the Eden Fractal Pomelo grant, and if you win, the money will go there. But then if an Eden Fractal member wins, they got to be guaranteed level 6 at the next meeting.
Okay, well, I don't think we can make any guarantees about it, but if somebody could win for Eden Fractal and represent, that'd be awesome, and I'm sure they'd get a lot of respect. I was just listening to an interview recently with Liv Boree, who used to be a professional poker player, talking with Lex Friedman, talking about like Daniel Negreanu and several of the best poker players. It's a pretty fascinating world and pretty fascinating topic and game.
Uh-huh.
So I guess we're official. It's been passed, and I guess we're on the new chain, or whatever you guys want to call it. So I guess happy Independence Day, guys.
Woo!
Let's go.
All right.
Woo!
Go EOS. Go Antelope Leap.
Go Antelope.
B 3.1.
Yeah.
This is great. This is great, but the token price hasn't gone up yet. It's taking so long.
Yeah, well, we will see. Everything. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm optimistic things should, if we don't climb in the coin market cap rankings and, you know, the coming months, then we got to start asking some tough questions. But I feel like all the fundamentals make a lot of like solid reason as to why we should anticipate the price moving.
Well, now it's the next step. So new branding, you know, marketing team, got leadership for a decentralized chain. We have the best governance systems possible. But if no one's building on it, I think that's the metric. So price is manipulated with people that short entire markets. Like the crypto market's small for some manipulators, so hard to budge whole markets just with new updates. But I would say, you know, another metric is how many people are coming over, how many different apps are moving from different chains, and how many new businesses. You know, we can't do mass adoption by ourselves, but that'll be the metrics to kind of see if we've expanded over the next year, in my opinion, is how many more people are using Antelope software for whatever they're doing, business, software, fun, games, all that. So, and I would say Antelope as a whole, right? You know what I mean? EOS, but you know, all the chains, if we can see some good growth in adoption and new businesses, that would be an easier metric to kind of gauge it. You know, price is a tough one. Price should follow.
I mean, I think it starts too with, I'm looking forward to seeing how the event in Token 2049 goes with Trust EVM, and then they've got all these conferences lined up. So, you know, I mean, if the EVM's out there and we're getting people with eyes on it, and we get projects starting to work, like that's why I think that's why fundamentally it makes sense why we should expect things to go, you know, positive for EOS, because now the doors are open for all projects to come and use. I mean, the majority of projects that are being built on Ethereum. I mean, we're tapping into the second largest market cap. So,
oh wow, look at that, 4,000 transactions per second. Wow, that's very close to 1 million.
Well, we only use EOS only uses like, I don't know, 30 transactions per second or something like that. So the capacity is not so important. What we need to do is get more usage.
I know that there's no need for 1 million transactions per second at this point, because it's not used that much. But I'm just saying, it's like, I want to see that million. Has it ever been seen maybe in the test net before, or even on the main net? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think it's possible to do it with like I think they say single threaded, like just with one EOS. Like I think you would need multiple side chains and IBC to get to 1 million transactions per second.
And plus, I don't know, like, I guess the technicals, but wouldn't the infrastructure, so basically all the block producers, whatever they're running, like they have to upgrade. I think I would assume as we scale, like, you know, I don't know what it looks like to like be a block producer, like how many servers they're running, or like, you know, like you've seen like those warehouses filled with miners for Bitcoin. Like I'm just curious to see what it would like. Eventually I see like a block producer would turn into a warehouse, right? If EOS becomes you know, the #1 cryptocurrency and it's running everything and everything's tying to it, then block producers, I would think, would have like a whole warehouse filled with just the hardware to handle all of the throughput for all the transactions. I could be completely off. Like I'm just assuming. I don't really know the technicals on in detail like that, but that's kind of like my assumption. I don't know. Does anyone kind of know more technicals on that side?
Yes, you need. I got this. You just got to get wider diameter pipes. So, you know, because the internet is a series of pipes, you know, so you just need to get bigger pipes to push more data through.
Gotta call the plumber.
More coffee. You need more coffee to keep the devs going longer. Really, the hardest part, no one really talks about, is block production. You can run your own hardware or get, you know, hardware from a different, you know, a server center, and it's not that demanding. It's not that much power usage, but no one talks about accessing the chain after the fact. So producing blocks is, is just keeping up with updates. It's not the most difficult thing and doesn't need a lot of hardware, but doing all the history. So history nodes for any blockchain to then access that information after the blocks are put in the blocks is what takes a lot of information, especially if, say, on Wax, you have all these transactions with games and things. That's what costs the money. That's what's no blockchain likes to talk about, because no blockchain is really doing it right. And there's, when you get down into the nitty gritty, there's a lot of solutions that take that right off a chain, put it back into traditional databases to try and access. And that's where we really need to improve in all these changes, better history nodes and better history access. And EOS isn't just the only blockchain that's having those issues, but that's where you start getting increased costs and start looking at more servers and quite a bit of extra hassle.
It's interesting. So so I guess that kind of goes into the debate of like, should block producers have, is it like history nodes? Is that basically what you would call that?
Yeah, it should be, it'll be interesting to see what the new Ƒractal chain is prescriptive on what they make block producers do to be a top block producer. In EOS, it's not mandatory, and it should be to be a top block producer if you're making money, and that money should go to infrastructure. Wax is a little bit different. In order to get paid, you have to be running some of those nodes, and it's super important. It's as important as running APIs. But yeah, it's just producing blocks, it's usually the people, usually applications trying to access that history, especially on the new NFT stuff. You're looking at, where's my NFT? Did I buy? Did I sell? Where is it? How is it used in a game? But yeah, every chain treats it differently. But yeah, it should be something that if you're a block top 21, I would only vote for, I personally would only vote for block producers in EOS that are running history nodes. Unfortunately, there's not 21 of them that are actually running the history nodes.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, good discussion. And thanks, Drain, for bringing all the knowledge, especially with CSX. You have a lot of experience with this stuff, and great discussion. Also welcome to Das and Nicholas and Marco and Giorn and Jorge, and also Chris too. Great to see y'all. I'm not sure which Chris this is. I suppose we should probably get started in the breakout rooms because we're a couple minutes over already. First off, whichever Chris is here, not CAC, would you like to introduce yourself? I don't know if this is Chris Barnes. I don't think Chris Barnes, I think he has a picture. If this is a different Chris.
It must be a different Zoom account that logged in, but it's Chris Barnes.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, Chris. Sounds good. Okay, so we have 13. So I guess we should do one group of 5 and 2 groups of 4 for right now. Sound good?
One group of 13.
I think that would be difficult, although interesting experiment at some point, but I don't think it'd be a good instrument for now. What the name used in place in number 4? Oh, the name, yeah, and I'm glad I got it. He typed it in. Although there might be 4 ones, I'm not sure, but it's in MSA 111 and maybe 11111. But yeah, basically, if nobody else joins your room and you're in a room with 4, then when you enter the EOS account name into the tool, then then for level 2, you can put in Eden MSA 111, and that's the best way to do it. And does anybody have a link to the tool? Easily accessible?
I can get it really quick. There you go. It's sweet that like we're gonna be one of the first ones to like post on the new fork too. Like it's cool that we're using it every single week. That's what I love about the Eden Fractal is that we're actually using EOS now, and it's sweet.
Yeah, I agree. We're using it for very cool and helpful use cases, and there's lots more too that we can explore after the meeting and in the future as well to use EOS more. Cool. So I'll start the breakout rooms now, and we'll go for 40 minutes, if that's all right with everybody, even though we're getting a bit of a late start. And breakout rooms are awesome. Hope everybody has a great time. Hey, everyone. Chris, it looks like you're very scenic.
Lighting.
Yeah. It looks like you're having a I don't know, you're in the part of the movie when you realize everything is different than you expected or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is the creepy scene. I can change my view in a second.
Okay. It looks kind of cool that too, but yeah.
There, I showed myself to prove that I'm real.
Okay. Thanks, CC. It'd be appreciated if you want to stay on camera, being that you're in front of the camera and you have a nice setup, and it is, I would say, better looking than the Pepe the Frog on the cross.
Dan, I'm not gay. I'm sorry to tell you.
Okay, you don't gotta be sorry. But anyway, I suppose we should get started. Chris has better lighting now. He looks like he just had a change of world. Now everything's bright and sunny and everything, and Chris is
Yep.
smiling.
It's amazing what exposure will do. I don't
Right.
believe you, CAC, because you use a grayed out. You're using black and white here to make yourself look as good as possible. I get it.
Okay, cool. So would any of you like to go first, sharing your contributions? By the way, I'm recording, obviously. I think everybody knows that already. But also, Juan, you have a cool cinematic look as well going on.
Yeah, I changed the location. So it's bright. Yeah.
Cool. It looks like your camera's much better too. In the past, your camera looked a lot of times blurry, but now it looks like super clear and stuff.
I'm from my mobile device, so my laptop camera sucks, but this one is actually good.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, good to see you in high resolution now. Okay, cool. Would anybody like to go first? If not, I can go first.
You steer, Dan. I just woke up, so I'm not going to be peppy till I call upon.
It sounds good. Yeah, I also woke up too, and I was busy working on a bunch of stuff, so I'm not super prepared. My presentation's probably super messy, but I'll get into it and show you. Hopefully, you enjoy, and it helps. These are contributions to EOS and Eden Ffractal this week. And also kind of quickly start a timer too. I feel like this is one of the least prepared sessions, but that way I don't go for too long. So, yep, this is, of course, the cool looking design. And one of the main things I've been working on this week is Eden Roadmap. I was trying to get it done, like first version shared this week, but I only kind of just shared a teaser in the Eden Discord. I worked on like making the art, and then edencreators.com/roadmap has some details here where right now, like it's very basic. The writing has to be kind of refined, and there's also there's like kind of initiatives that I'm aiming to launch with Carrier A entered the waiting room. I don't know who Carrier A is, or if I should add them to someone. I guess. Does anybody know Carrier A?
Spell it.
ZAK. I think they're gone now, so never mind. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, but anyway, I'm working on a roadmap to kind of outline some paths for Eden and Eden Fractal, and so there's some initiatives here that I'm basically making pages in the background. So Eden Boats, I already made a page for that. Also Eden Builders and Eden Talk and all these different steps. I'm building a bunch of pages in the background to provide more details, but it's not really super ready. So I figure I'll just share a brief preview here of some things that we're working on, but I'll share much more about the roadmap next week. And I think it'll be very helpful for both our discussions about interim consensus process and in general, just to help provide some starting point for discussions for where we can go with Eden and Eden Fractal and so forth. Last week, I also hosted the Fractal meeting, and I picked kind of a cool thumbnail with some fun images. And then I also, as always, posted those on the videos section of eden.com/videos, along with Felix's video as well. And then I also participated in the like 3 or 4 of these meetings hosted by Joshua Seymour about more equal animals and practically white paper and growing awareness and adoption, stuff like that. We recorded, and Joshua's starting to share these videos now too, which are cool. These are every Tuesday, 18 UTC. I encourage everybody to join. And then kind of a weird thumbnail. So I participated in the Genesis Fractal and promoted EOS and Eden Fractal, as I do every Saturday, and gave presentations about it with the faculty team and so forth. I also participated in Town Hall. We talked for about 6 hours or so with CAC, and Chris Barnes was there for a long time, so we recorded a bit of that and talked a lot about Eden there. Also with Chris and Han and Luca did the chief delegate meeting, and then also retweeted, and we had the 11th meeting this week, but the 10th meeting came out. And I also participated in the Helios Twitter space where we talked about many things about EOS and Eden. And then I also had a call with Vlad for about 3.5 hours the other day, where, I mean, for one thing, he showed me this cool new tool using AI art generators. And so I purchased an NFT he made about Dogman architecting governance, something like that. It was kind of a funny thing, but also we talked mostly about Eden Fractal and the different software we can build with boats and social media applications, stuff like that, perhaps with BBS and other things like that. I also participated in Alien Worlds Fractal meeting along with CEC and promoted Eden Fractal and lots of other things there. And EOS and all sorts of things. And then I'm not sure if I did any more this week, but I added a bit to the consensus, Eden Fractal, edencreators.com/Eden/interim consensus, to provide details about the interim consensus process and many links and so forth to help people learn about the whole thing. Last week I made the votes proposal, and there's been lots of discussions and comments about these in the chats and so forth. I didn't get the chance to respond to most of it, but I responded to quite a bit of it in the Discord yesterday. So this took a lot of time just to, clearly think through all these different things. And I also helped make like a page for D-board and lots of things in the background too. But yep, that was that. And then I suppose these are kind of just messy things, but I didn't get the chance to properly prepare my presentation. So that's that. And thank you, everybody. Feel free to ask any questions. And would anybody like to go next, or should I nominate somebody? I guess I'll nominate. Do you want to go next?
You mean me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the past week I haven't done anything much myself. So I have been mostly reading and reading stuff other people said, or in the Eden group. I think Chris has made a proposal about the dispute resolutions or things like that, and also the various interim consensus processes in the Eden Fractal. And yeah, I couldn't do anything much, this week. So mainly making comments on that, making my point of view into those proposals, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, the past week was for me was like I was having some the existential crisis stuff. So having a lot to deal with. So yeah, these are probably my contributions. Yeah. So, yeah. It's short.
Okay. I hope that the existential crisis wasn't too bad, and that you're doing all right overall. But thanks for the contributions too.
It's still ongoing. Yeah, I think I'll figure it out soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Who's next? See you. You go next.
I got nothing to share. Marco, go ahead.
Well, that's briefer than I can be, I think. All right, so I write briefings. It's a weekly newsletter, and essentially there's like 3 briefings in there: one for EOS, one for Eden, and one for ƒractal. It also serves as a history for all 3. It has been operating since the power went live before B1 announced its desire to leave. So I'm using that to write a briefings website with overall history, smaller history, project history, influencer histories. I would attend 4 ƒractals on a weekly basis. This one, Genesis, Alien Worlds, and BitShares. And sort of another one trying to launch. BitShares really isn't one. It's transitioned to more of an educational thing. So if you know anybody's new, wants some help onboarding just into our little ecosystem, the BitShares thing is looking to help people onboard to ƒractal and to EOS to some degree. So BitShares is getting into NFTs. And on that note, there's another meeting looking to start an NFT team. You'll see that in the Go ƒractal site. And I've also been a part of a couple of other meetings, some with Dan Saintjoy, ones that are led by Joshua, about starting a ƒractal, white paper and stuff, and then just general discussion. There's invite links on the briefing. And I'll pass it over to, we'll have one left. So.
That is me. Let's see. We're talking about what we did. So Eden Chief Delegate meeting was a good one. We've made some bylaw changes that I think we at least have 3 out of 4 to agree with. One of them is to allow a midterm, it's okay. Sorry, talking to no one else knows here. Midterm distribution rate reduction. So we can't plan when we might receive a donation, and we should talk about that. I think that's something I'd like to talk about, is asking the ENF for another contribution or a top up to our treasury, and how we think we should go about doing that. At some point we should ask them, so we should talk about it. And then, so yeah, so one of the bylaws is that we can do a midterm reduction. So 15% per month is too much based on a new lump sum of cash into the treasury. We should be able to reduce that midterm and not have to wait and go through the traditional bylaw ratification process. So I think that's a good move, and we've got 3 out of 4 to approve that, so we're good. And the other big piece there was the remove member dispute resolution process. So I took a bit of time last week and finished up writing that. It's just over a page. It's been shared in the ED's member chat. It's a really big step. Any really sophisticated organization needs to have dispute resolution. And I basically used Dan Larimer's article as a reference for that, and then got approval from the chief delegates, except for Dan. I think, Dan, you still haven't decided, but it doesn't matter really in the end, because we've got 3 out of 4. So that's in terms of actually pushing this forward and progress, actually doing something. We've got what we need there. So I think that's a really good milestone moment. And we get to then explore how that might work if it's when it's actually ratified, if it becomes ratified. So pretty cool. The other thing that I can talk about now a little bit is I've been invited to participate in the Independent National Convention, which is it's the sort of this independent national movement in the United States is going to be trying to break away from the two-party system. It's a lot about what More Equal Animals is about, is a new way to do democracy and breaking away from the two-party system and how it's been controlled and incumbent advantage and all that. And so the Independent National Movement, there'll be a convention in Austin, Texas at the end of October. And I have been introduced to and been communicating with the event coordinator, and we'll have an opportunity to go there and actually present the Eden process and this community as well to that whole movement. So there will be hopefully a few thousand people there live that'll get to learn about Eden. And there'll be hopefully quite a few thousand people tuned in remotely, and then just the follow-on views of this whole event that'll be live streamed. So that is pretty awesome. That could be one of the biggest sort of advertising events for this whole process and getting it out into the world. And it's perfectly in line with, I think, a lot of us, the reason why we're in this Eden thing was about a better way to do democracy. So that's pretty exciting. And I don't have a contract yet to do that, to be able to speak there, but I understand it's coming. So I was hesitant to talk about it until I really had something firm, but it looks like it's quite firm at this stage. So willing to talk about it with the group. Those are the big bits, I guess. That's probably enough. Yeah, I don't think anything else substantive would count. So that's it.
Hey, I have 3 wallets, I think. Is that correct? I'll post them there just so everyone has it for the tool. So you just need Chris's wallets.
Yep, I'll add mine. Oh, and I want to say one other thing, Gian. I forgot to pay you the $100. I hope you mentioned this at one point during these meetings, but you had gone through voluntarily without expectation of reimbursement you updated the Eden members approved proxy listing based on the current set of delegates. And I owe you $100 for that. And you've reminded me. So I will send that today. So you get that because you deserve that. That was really good that you did that. It was on your own. You just took it upon yourself. And I think that's great. So by the way.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the Google Sheets, for example, and about the EOS rates and the proxy and stuff. So I learned a lot, and thanks for that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, John, for that work, and thanks, Chris, for supporting that. And then also, I'll just add a couple things that I feel like both Chris's did awesome things that they left out. So one, Chris, I think that I haven't watched the entire thing yet, but from what I see, the EX hackathon, like the launch video, I've watched about half of that, and that looks really cool as well. And then your work with Helios ongoing with the Twitter space and all the stuff you're doing in the background, that's much appreciated as well.
Thank you. I usually don't include those. Like, well, I guess the hackathon just didn't strike me as being an Eden thing, but it's still for the community, EOS, I suppose. And if I'm getting paid by Helios to do those Twitter spaces, personally, I find it quite conflicting to reference things that I'm already getting paid for in these meetings that are meant to be another means to compensate you for work. So I know that's okay in the Genesis ƒractal, but I don't know. I just my own moral compass tells me that doesn't feel right. So I usually try not to reference that.
Yeah, I was like that up until about a month or so ago, and then it just comes. Here's the point: is that if I were to leave out Fractally and I want to leave out Eden out of the weekly newsletter, I can still publish my pay for it. So I try to embrace it a little bit more to bring it in and stuff like that. And then I know people find it offensive or whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, from my perspective, and I think what's best for the community is still to share those things, because I mean it is helpful for EOS for sure, and Eden ƒractal isn't just for Eden specifically, but it's for EOS, as Eden is also for EOS. And I think that like right now we have mostly people who are pretty regularly joining these meetings and so forth, but when we do have more meetings, or even people who are regularly joining can forget or not be aware of it, and it's helpful to promote these like helpful things, and especially when new people join, it's cool when we show and tell lots of cool things that people can learn about, and these are all videos too. So I think that I don't think there's a conflict of interest, because well, James Smart also made a great video about this about a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago or so, where he was talking about how people are always getting rewarded elsewhere. Like several people on this call are getting rewarded at the Genesis ƒractal. or Alien World Fractal or different jobs. But I think that basically we should just focus on value and contributions towards the fractal, kind of irregardless of what people are earning elsewhere. It's helpful often to say like I got paid for this. I often do that when I was doing like the hot sauce and stuff. But also I think that it's helpful to mention it as well, and you don't have to hold back
It also
because of it.
helps with, it also helps communicating to people who are not well, don't know much about it. You know, we can say that Brock Pierce has attended Eden meetings, not for long, but he has, so we can work things in there. If Helios is mentioning it from time to time, we can throw those words out there too. Anyway,
I guess the reason I'm questioning it is what's the future state of this process, right? So like if the future goal is that this is a means that communities come together and they get compensated for their efforts and they actually start to dedicate full-time work and they decide to give up, like Felix talks about all the time, he wants to get paid full-time to work in this industry, in this space. So that to me, like that's worth noting, right? Versus someone who has another job or is getting
Absolutely.
paid already to do the same work. So there is a difference there. And I guess maybe we're just not at that stage yet. Okay, fine. But I would think that's where we'd want to try to, like, if that's where we're going, that's what we should be experimenting with. Like, I'm here only what I'm looking to get compensated for from this group, even though it's a small amount of money. That's iterated. That's like experimenting with the process because that's how it's intended to be, I thought. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that. Of
no,
course.
you're right. Sole contributions to these things are paramount. I'll just say that Joshua asked, how's the relationship or perception or the reception of Eden versus Fractal last week? And I think if we were to break dividing lines a little bit more, that would be a little bit tougher. I said it's been improving as far as the general Eden community accepting Fractally, but you know, just stuff like that. But absolutely, sole contributions here and stuff like that, unpaid is well.
I think it's good to keep in mind, and it's all subjective, however people want to value it. But I think the community is best fit when we value contributions to at least some extent, regardless of where people are being compensated elsewhere. Like when people are contributing directly to Eden Fractal and working only for it, that can be helpful. Maybe I mean it's helpful when people are focusing on Eden Fractal, but like ideally, like the community will grow much more when we're welcoming and encouraging people to join from all sorts of different already successful organizations within EOS, like especially once we get team functionality working. But even now without team functionality, like it's great to have people coming from, you know, Helios and from EOS support and from the ENF and from ESBs and so forth. And like these are already successful organizations where people are getting compensated, but like we want to be welcoming for everybody to promote their work and to share their work and to not feel like they have to do something totally different to be compensated here, but just be compensated additionally or receive extra respect for what they're doing to help EOS in addition to what they're already earning. So it's good to keep all in mind, but I do think that there's a lot of value in promoting, you know, work in general and accepting and encouraging people to share work that they're already getting paid for elsewhere.
Sure. I just think maybe they shouldn't be ranked as high, I guess, right?
I
Like
agree,
if you're
and
getting
that's
paid
why I
to do the
have
work, you can show up and talk about it. Just don't get paid as much and be okay with that.
I
One thing,
started
Dan,
a
just to help you, and I'm sure you noted this as well, Marco. Irregardless is not a word, so try to just say regardless. I
Is
want
it
you to
not?
sound as.
I thought it was a
It's not
word. Oh man.
yeah, I use it sometimes too.
It's a double negative.
It's like flammable and inflammable, right?
Well,
I started a list of people who post on Hive as far as Fractal articles, and I only include the people who did the past week as a way of technically adhering to the reward protocol. So anyone who produced an article last week, I just leave in the name, and you'll see a list going back. You look back, the people that produce from week to week. You can see it on the account as well. But at most, there's 5 names. At minimum, there's 3. And those are the people that I guess I see it. I see as the biggest independent contributors for what we're doing here. And I think we should start a list like that because there's not that many of them. And I think it will grow that. It needs to stand alone at some point.
Well, I think that there's a great overlap between this process and Eden. Like personally, I think there's a great opportunity for these two processes to work together. I think what happened was is that a lot of Eden members didn't appreciate the means by which Fractally was introduced and the process by which Dan and the Clarion team moved on to Fractally. I think that left a bit of a bad taste in a few folks' mouth, who then were not so supportive of the process because it felt a bit combative in how it was announced, and it was almost this idea of, well, Eden should migrate to Fractally. No, Eden can stay Eden, and then Fractally can be Fractally, and they can work together. But that's not really how it was initially positioned in some people's eyes. And I think that's but time heals all wounds, and now we're kind of doing our own thing, and there's this opportunity to have them collaborate together. So yeah, and no, irregardless. So you think of what the meaning of regardless means, and then add era, which is so you're you're negating what regardless already stood for. So yeah, it's not a word.
I did Google it, and there seems to be some, like, one of the top results is regardless what you think irregardless is a word, and then it's like, is irregardless a word? There seems to be some confusion about this, but also your point logically makes sense, and it might be saying
not. If you look at,
regardfully.
I'm
saying irregardless.
Chris is right.
If you look
kind of
back
like an
in
art form
older
how you might
dictionaries,
can and cannot. How you write it regardless, leading in where irregardless sounds fine to Americans. You adjust the sentence a little. I went through it not long ago. I will say Violet Garden, I thought was going to be the Eden social media. And that's when Violet Garden was active and people were contributing there. I really felt most at home with the Eden community. You're muted, Chris.
Still muted. Chris.
I'm talking to my wife who has an English major, and she's laughing that we're debating whether regardless and irregardless is actually a word, because it's absolutely not a word. It's just a joke that people even think it is.
You're one of those guys. You're one of those guys that think that supposedly is a word, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Supposedly and especially. I got to get Felix on this. He puts an X in the word especially all the time. And another one that drives me nuts is people call everything an acronym when it's not. FBI is an initialism, and NASA is an acronym. So if you actually say the word, it's an acronym. If you just say the letters, it's an initialism.
Interesting. I hope it doesn't drive you too nuts, though.
So
like,
no, I get over it. I'm pretty well tempered. I just noticed it, right? And I'm like, words.
What is my name? Is my name an initialism or an acronym?
If you say CAC, it's an acronym. If you say CAC, it's an initialism.
You know how many people have told me, like, mostly in the Alien Worlds Discord chat, how much CAC means shit in so many languages, or penis. Someone said penis in Vietnamese. I was like, what?
It does mean poop. Yeah, it's I think CAC.
I was not aware of that.
CAC is better. Take the initialism version, and then it's not that.
Yeah, CAC is the initialism. I've always said CAC because saying CAC sounds kind of awkward, and CAC sounds pretty cool. Also, on the topic of the initialism that is CAC, there's a lot more that you contributed over the past week. I mean, like you've been on, just for example, like a lot of things that I mentioned, you also did too, like joining the Alien Worlds Fractal, being on the Eden Town Hall for 6 hours, being here for long on the last Eden Fractal. You said that you were reading a lot of the different, like studying the different proposals, and also like watching a lot of older videos and stuff like that. So I think it's good if you mention that, because I don't know, like, well, I do know, actually, like, it just sounds better. Like, if somebody comes and joins the event who's new and they see somebody saying they don't do anything, then that's not, maximizing the value for the community. So, like, yeah.
Well, I don't know. That may be benefiting me. I don't know how it's benefiting the community. I mean, I don't get compensated to do that stuff. I don't even get compensated in the real world. So I was like, I need to find a way to start getting compensated somehow. But I guess learning all this stuff might be beneficial. I might be able to provide value, but I don't know. There's a lot of shit that I'm pissed off about right now. Not in this community, in the real world, not that this isn't the real world. Just cut this out of the recording, please. Thank you.
Okay. The recordings are generally edited. It takes a lot of time. So if it's okay with you, then I'll leave it in. But
I just said, take it out. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand. It just quite difficult to do. So I'd appreciate it. if we could
No, it is not. Write down the timestamp right now so you know approximately where it's at, and you can go back and remove it.
Okay.
I
Sure.
wasn't paying attention. Now I want to hear what was said. Can you send me a
Oh,
free forward
no,
of this?
no, nothing. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, like, what if somebody says something that they don't want recorded when it's being recorded?
Yeah, they could. I would honor that. But I mean, in this case, I feel like what you said is insensitive and it's just kind of putting more work for me to do something that isn't necessary. So that's why I kind of suggested that I still want to publish it fully. But if it's really important to you not to publish it, then go back and edit it.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I mean, taking the just raw video and posting it online ain't that difficult. Anybody can do that. I mean, put some production value into it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm planning to
I'll
eventually.
start.
But I mean,
I'll
most of the time we're
start
kind of like the roadmap and whatnot right now.
I'll start an Eden Fractal YouTube channel and just record these and post it. You know, don't change anything.
That would be cool. That'd be great to have more recordings. Right now, it's just
But
me and Felix,
I-
but I think if more people did it, that'd be awesome. And
I don't think I'm gonna do it though.
okay, you don't have to. But back to
'Cause
your point.
I don't start a YouTube channel unless I can get at least 10,000 subscribers, and I'm not going to get 10,000 with Eden Fractal videos.
I think we'll get much further than that in the long term. We'll see though. But back to your point though, the original point was that I do think it brings huge benefit to the community because it just makes the community look better. And like all the videos, when everybody at the
Participation.
community is sharing, good stuff that they've done or leading by example about what they're learning and what they're participating in, like that inspires other people. And if people just come and say like, "Oh, I didn't do anything, go on," then that doesn't inspire people as much and it makes the community look not as good.
If you were on the town hall on Sunday, I mentioned what I would like to see, or what I would like this community to do before I start doing anything. If you can maybe go back and listen to the recording.
Oops. Yeah, I remember. I mean, most of it wasn't recorded, but
Oh yeah, well,
I remember what
you're
you're saying,
always
and a lot of it was
recording.
inspiring.
You're always recording, Dan.
I don't
Check your
know.
private archive.
I don't know why you get that sense. I do record a lot, but whenever I'm recording, I let people know. And I never record when it's just on mobile because of Apple's limitations and also respect for
So
people's
shall we
privacy.
start ranking or what?
I think that's a good idea, Marco.
I think I'll abstain.
I just looked and there's enough Google reference that irregardless is a word. However, it's non-standard because of the double negative usage of it. And
Well,
it's
I was gonna
entirely
say
illogical.
this.
I'll never
I was
use
gonna
it because it sounds ridiculous. But anyway, so maybe you're fine. Go ahead, use irregardless.
I was going to say this for Dan using it, and I write this way. You got to bear in mind that if you do, you're going to get a flooded of Chris's coming after you. The comma debate. If you're from Oxford, you place a comma before
Oxford
the end
comma.
because you're promoting English. You want to speak more English, and if you're American, you see it as irrelevant. So you don't place the comma before that. However, if you're an American
In a
and you're
contract,
angry,
though,
you don't say can't, you say cannot because now you're speaking more English.
that Oxford comma is super useful though if you want to be accurate, because in a contract, if you have
See?
something
I
and
told you.
something, it's meant to be taken together then. So you could go to court of law and be like, oh no, it wasn't both. So it's neither.
I
That's
always
actually-
use it.
There's been cases for that.
No,
The
no,
Oxford
no.
comma
I
is
use
useful.
it. I
use
use it
it.
if there's more words and there's ideas. So I use them both, but I meant it as a joke.
I use it. It's more, it looks more pleasing to the eyes.
Like ain't.
More accurate.
Ain't is a word.
All right. Oxford
Taint
comma is
is
a
a
good
word.
song too.
Ain't is
but
an American word.
we've only got 8 minutes and we're probably best suited reaching consensus amongst contributions rather than the English language. And then maybe come back to the English language linguistics discussion.
American English.
Yes.
Do we allow self-voting?
Yes.
Yeah, we allow self-voting. I want to vote for myself.
Okay.
I like what Dan and Chris were doing. I just, I don't know. It seemed like a toss-up as far as providing regular stuff. But I will say, if Chris succeeds in that third-party thing, that is a huge battle. It's one that I try to pick up myself. I think the Libertarian Party is conflicted in being aligned with the Republican Party. It should be really an independent party, even against monopolies. So
Trying to
that's
get some,
huge.
yeah, they're trying to get some Democrat or Libertarian Party folks to show up, and then we can have an Eden delegate. By the way, we're going to have the opportunity to have a bunch of Eden people show up at this and have their own separate set of seating.
Yeah,
and
let me know if I
everything.
can help.
So, more to come. Anyway, we should vote.
Yeah,
Go
likewise.
ahead, Dan. Lead the way.
Okay, cool. Is everybody ready with a name for level 6? If so, then please give a thumbs up or say something or signify. Okay, cool. Didn't get from Jerome, but I'm assuming runs ready. And so I suppose we can go. Okay, cool. And 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, roll 5.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Unless CAC wants to jump in.
Oh yeah.
I'm abstaining. I'm
They can go
abstaining
there.
Okay.
in protest.
In protest of what?
You know, think
I don't-
hard, Dan.
What's that? I don't know.
Just vote. You don't need my vote. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Sounds good. Is everybody ready? 3, 2, 1, go. It seems like everybody's taking a long time to vote. Typically, the vote should be instant about.
All right, roll 4. I was just putting the wallet in there to make it easier.
Okay. Level 4. Is everybody ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, consensus.
I really appreciate what everybody's doing. Of course, and I did kind of want to vote for CAC here because he's been on a lot of different meetings and doing a lot of helpful work. But like I was saying, I think that'd be helpful if he presented it better. And then also, yeah.
He still gets the 5th spot. So even by showing up and not voting, he's still getting paid, quote unquote. So
That's
Can't even
true.
why I can't
Well-
I can't even take a crap with that much money. It's not why I'm here.
you could.
Well,
Because you'd have to do that
Yeah, he
anyway.
does,
So it's like a free crap.
He
we
does
still haven't
make
reached
a
consensus about level 3. Well, actually, yeah. So I would also vote Bjorn for level 3 if there's consensus there.
by holding on to the mood. CAC does make it more powerful statement amongst us in the future, and yeah, that's important. I don't like politics actually. I don't like the governance at all. I definitely am an independent, but I'll say that one of the things that stayed out is someone that actually stand as much as the Republicans like to promote that they stand for stuff. I really don't see that we do. So somebody holding up to their principles and things like that is tougher in government and just in life in general. So I think all of us here though, equipped to kind of have that thing. It's posted above, Chris.
Yeah, CAC.xyz.
Oh, thank you.
Shit.xyz.
You could probably get that one. Is it take?
I doubt it. Okay, cool. Well, this was a fun room. I mean, irregardless of the results, we're all irregardlessly. I was trying to think of the other words that we talked about. Maybe we should make an initialism about this to remember it.
Acronyms and
I wouldn't
initialism.
say it twice inside of 5 minutes.
I think the word it's supposed to be used is if someone says, regardless of whatever, 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 and then the person who wants to end the conversation says, irregardless, blah, 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 blah. But that's the only
Yeah, it
context I
says.
think I've found that makes any sense.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thanks for the great meeting, everybody. Good speaking with y'all.
Oh, do we put that other one in level 1 or do we leave it blank?
No, we can just leave it blank.
Okay.
Only,
I will
groups
s-
of 4 that need to do that.
I will submit this consensus results, but I will do it under protest and under duress.
But what is what does duress mean? Doesn't that mean like
It means read a
compulsion?
dictionary.
Yeah,
Read
well,
a dictionary, Dan.
You're being coerced. You don't want to, but you have to.
well, you don't have to. I mean, technically, like we want to implement a rule, I think, whereby if people don't, then they don't receive respect. But we never want it to be a coercive or duress relationship. It should always be voluntary.
Dan, I think you should stop interpreting things literally all the time. You know,
was
sometimes
room
things
number
are
3.
deeper than just the words that are used.
Well, the words we use are important, and it's important that we're accurate with the words we use. If people think that they're, being compelled or something like that, then that should be clarified, and we should make it clear that people aren't being compelled and that we're not doing duress.
He's just playing around. You're taking it too serious, Dan.
I get
Kristen's
it.
obviously a joker. He's got a great sense of humor, so I think it's funny as all heck. We're room number 3, right? That's correct.
Yes, this is correct.
Okay.
And
In
thank
the
you.
public spectrum, some stuff can get dicey.
Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. I'll hit close breakout room, so we'll have 60 seconds left. And yeah, I guess sorry if I was taking it too seriously, CAC, but I don't know. It's also like I don't like hearing
Stop
when people say
apologizing.
that.
Stop apologizing all the time, Dan. Come on.
Okay, I'll stop apologizing, but I don't like hearing people say like they're doing it under duress because people do interpret that as like not everybody sees that as a joke, and so when we talk, like when we make jokes, we should make them funny, and sometimes it's great to be like kind of like push the limits with jokes and whatnot. That's a big part of what comedy can do, but also these are being recorded and we want to create a positive atmosphere and we don't want to make it seem like people aren't enjoying or doing because they have to.
But he was been joking the whole time, so if someone watched the full recording, they would obviously get that Chris is playing around. So
I don't know.
You're sounding very Canadian. Maybe you've got some Canadian blood in you, the apologetic nature.
I do like to be kind, but anyway, we only have 3 seconds left. So thanks, everybody. Good talk. Chris, you are muted. I'm not sure if you're trying to speak with us. Hope everybody had a great time.
Sorry.
Talk to my spouse again here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I kind of figured that. How's everyone doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
There was a lot of noise inputted or inserted into that last breakout room.
Oh yeah. There is always something with Chris. That's nice.
Well, I'd be interested to hear if you have any thoughts about where the noise came from, or if you guys have any other thoughts regarding the rooms too.
We have no noise.
We were not able to
What's that,
share
bud?
our screen.
Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to turn that on.
Yeah, you should allow that for the next, maybe. Yeah. That's the only issue that we had.
Yeah. I tried writing that at the top of my notes for this week, but I just
Technical
totally
issue.
missed it.
By the way.
And it makes it much better.
Sure. There is room for improvement.
Yeah, it makes it much better when people can share the screen. Sorry about that.
Oh, bye, Nicolas. Bye, Nicolas. Oh, he's already leaving. Okay. Committed bees. A lot of work with the swarms. With Telos, there was a swarm. You see, Chris Barnes is very busy.
No, I'm talking to my wife. She's listening to all this. She knows all these. She knows all the characters. She's a need member, but she's making coffee and kind of finding this all funny in the background.
Okay.
Right.
One thing I think we should talk about, if we're looking for topics here as a group to coalesce around, I would love to see what folks in here think about how we might approach the ENF to get top-up funding for Eden. I think it's an important topic, and we should discuss it as a group. This is a collection of very dedicated Eden members, so it's something maybe we should talk about.
I don't know what was the
we were
subject
just
today.
talking about in our last stream of like the value, kind of what we talked about in our Eden Town Hall show. I was sharing that in our breakout group of I think next steps for this Eden fractal is like, let's start to incentivize everyone here like members that we're bringing in that are reoccurring, and then let's also capture too how many people are being added into Eden, and then also potentially let's see if we can get people outside of crypto. And then this is a way to showcase what the Eden Fractal is bringing to Eden and what Eden is bringing to EOS. We're bringing in new people, we're fostering a community, and I think by doing that, if we reach milestones as a collective here, like if that's like our next step, it's like, hey guys, all right, we're averaging about 15 people every meeting. Let's see if like next month we can bump that average up to 20 or 25. You know, we set some type of milestone, see if we can reach it. If everyone here is able to bring in one person, we double in size. And then we keep this going. And then by incentivizing by how we vote for the respect, we're getting our KPI up. And then that's how I think we approach the ENF is then we just show those results, because I don't know, those are just, I think, next steps for what we should be really thinking about here on the Eden Fractal, because I think that's what we bring to the table is that possibility. It's so easy to onboard people when we're like, hey, come, you'll earn some EOS. Like, it's a great talking point when you want to share it to friends or people who aren't involved in cryptocurrency. It's very hard to convince somebody to buy something, but rather now our selling point is like, hey, all you have to do is come participate here. You can get some EOS. You don't even have to buy any. And then on top of that, you're going to get Eden Respect, potentially sometimes NFTs. And all of this is just for your time. And like I said, if we get the KPI of bringing new people in, I don't see how we don't have a strong case of getting a top up for Eden by approaching the ENF, with these metrics.
That makes sense as just one small piece of how we'd approach the ENF, because I don't think we've got to be careful not to make it all about what the Eden Fractal is doing, and that should be the reason. This should just be yet one of maybe a dozen examples of good use of Eden delegate funds. Just to be clear, I think we probably are more holistic. We want to think of like, what are chief delegates doing? What are level 1 delegates doing? What's the community doing? This is one thing that we're doing, yes. And to your point, bringing in members is important, and bringing new people into the EOS ecosystem. But hopefully there's more to it than just this, because that probably won't be enough.
I have an idea,
Go ahead, Marco.
and you may like this, Chris. It's a little bit based on the idea of flash consensus that I wrote something on months ago when we were just getting started with Fractal. I think even before the Eden Fractal took off. But we have people here. We have people that come that stay for the after party, for the after discussion. And here Helios puts together top 5 moments of the week, which I include in the newsletter at the end, where I include the other news outlets, including I like to promo Lenny's recaps. We love them. So based on the idea of flash consensus, having people here, the idea behind the flash consensus was a sentence or two, something that could be tweeted, but it was something that would be agreed upon in a small group, initially via Telegram. A bunch of people could post it, but the idea being that maybe we get multiple posts for the week or the day, and we pick one, and then we all sign off on that one. So if every week we were to come here, come up with an idea, we just call it the topic of the week by the Eden community. We vote it, we tweet it, and all of us here sign off on it and tweet it. So we act everyone here, or we just list the members somewhere that everyone attended and came to consensus. So now we're not just coming to consensus on the work we did in the past independently. That would be hard for the ENF to look at. We're showing a group coming together of the most important thing for the week, every week leading up, how the community thinks. And then we can judge that based on the response we get, and then maybe make adjustments along the way. But that's something tangible, verifiable, and multiple signatures on there.
Yeah, I like the idea of a topic of discussion that's important to Eden, because then things need to get cleared out, I think, in person. It's like a lot of stuff gets lost into the chat. So I do think, and if it's a topic, like I think some of the things I took of like an idea a week, ideally with this proposal system, like once we adopt something, I think all proposals should have a time limit, right? So like it's an experiment. We're proposing something for 2 weeks. We try for 2 weeks and then we see the results. And then we go back to just default, like how we're doing things right now. And then we can choose like, what do we want to tweak? Do we want to keep this permanent? And this is going to be the best way for us to experiment, try new things. And then, yeah, we can hear all different types of ideas from within Eden of like, how do we make this process? Because I think the Eden Fractal is one of the more important processes within Eden, because it's encouraging weekly engagement within the Eden community. And yeah, I don't know. I think, yes, there's a lot of other things that Eden can do, but when I think with what the Eden Fractal like's main thing within Eden is the encouragement of actual weekly engagement within the community. And also encouraging like we're ideally contributions towards Eden. And whatever people want to bring to the table, but by setting ideas and kind of like highlighting something, that also puts something on the table for like anyone who wants to earn some respect. It's like, hey, this is something that's like really important to Eden. If somebody steps up and takes care of this, then you're going to be respected and ideally, like, yes, the payouts are small right now, but small steps. Ideally, if things we start creating stuff, then that helps us with the top up, because then we can be like, we can approach the ENF and be like, look, these are the contributions that are coming. And we talked a little bit about like, that's kind of how I'm wanting to use the Eden Fractal Pomelo grant is, let's set it up to where we show how much work has been done, what was created, and then like, this is what they got paid. We're going to use the funds as best as we can, but this is how much of a discount our members took. And ideally we want to get to where they're not taking a discount anymore. They're getting paid in full for their efforts. But ideally we have to start, small steps first, but that's kind of where my head's at of where I'd like to see things going. And yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Felix. Good points. And thanks, Marco and Chris as well. Good suggestion and prompt for a topic I agree that funding the Eden community is really important. And that's a great topic for us to discuss. It's also something that, it's exciting, can be very helpful for everybody here, as well as everybody in the EOS community. And asking the ENF is a good idea to do at some point soon, because I think the ENF makes the most sense to fund Eden, or at least is one of the organizations that has the most alignment with Eden. And they've already indicated lots of interest to fund in the past too. I do think it could make sense to fund Eden Fractal independently, because I think that, Eden Fractal on its own can be super helpful and like for Eden and Eden Fractal, but also if we can incorporate it into a larger campaign and process to fund the whole Eden community, because there are many Eden members and people who follow Eden who don't participate in Eden Fractal, then that would be best. And I think that also if we can help spread the Eden Fractal and the Eden token along to more people who are in the Eden community, that'd be great too. I've been working on this a lot. I think it's a great discussion topic, as I said, and I've been thinking about this a lot for several weeks and several months. And currently, I think that the best plan for us going forward, generally speaking, is within the next couple weeks or next couple months, like soon, I think it makes sense to start seasons of Eden Fractal, sort of similar to Pomelo seasons, where you have 4 seasons a year, and each season lasts approximately 13 weeks or so. And for the first season, I think that a good amount to ask the ENF for is $1,000 per week paid in EOS that gets distributed to Eden Fractal participants. Chris is shaking his head, so I'd be interested to learn why, but maybe first I'll explain some reasoning. I think that's a relatively small amount that we can gradually scale up and see how it goes, and kind of like titrate and because funding can be super helpful, but we also want to get it in a sustainable way. And I'm open to different ideas too, but that amount for Eden Fractal, I think, would be helpful. And then second season, we can, use that as proof to raise more funding. And then also we could do the same kind of thing for the Eden elections as well. And I think that it makes the most sense to do funding via a third party like Pomelo that has KYC infrastructure already set up too. And then also lots of other things I'm working on too. I'm working on a roadmap, aiming to share by next week with lots of initiatives, including this and other initiatives. And so one of the initiatives is Eden Builders, like building a place where we can all collaborate and share work, maybe somewhat similar to what Marco was saying, but also quite different. But it uses the interim consensus process to build like community websites to manage and so forth. Is something else?
Can I just respond to what you said? Well, I mean, because it sounds like you're going to mix topics here, and I just think in order to keep it pointed, would you mind if I just responded to your comment about requesting $1,000 a week from the ENF?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, sorry, and sorry, Gian, I know your hand's up, but I just think I want to reply to you. So my concern there is, so think about the previous examples where the ENF, and it's not the ENF, has funded Eden, right? It's the network that does it. They propose an MSIG, it comes directly out of EOSIO.savings. So $1,000 a week is not worth the time for them to bother doing that. First of all, think of the time of block producers, right? They have to review this. They have to actually like allow that to go through. So it's not a small thing. What account are you putting it into? Who are they trusting? The reason why they gave to Eden in the first place is because that treasury was held in an MSIG and it had a distribution schedule. The reason why they haven't given to the Chinese and Korean Edens yet is because they needed to run through an election and have a treasury that was following the same process. I don't think you're going to be able to duplicate that in any sort of meaningful amount of time. So my suggestion would be keep it simple. Focus on what's already worked in the past. And if you want to fund $1,000 a week for your Eden Fractal, run in an Eden election, have enough people here run with the platform of taking your rewards as an Eden delegate to fund this Fractal, what you're trying to do here. That is an achievable goal. I think you're going to make it it's far more difficult to achieve what you're suggesting and far easier to say, this is one of the many things that Eden does. Please top up the Eden treasury so then we can also do this thing, which you think adds value. And I don't think Eve and the ENF necessarily see the value created from this yet that I think few folks in here see. Showing up and talking is not adding value to the EOS network. It just isn't. And so I get that it's helpful to have people come together and talk each other ideas and whatever. Okay, but that's not, I don't think you're convincing even the ENF yet that this is really a true value aggregator. We're not increasing the price of EOS by what we're doing here right now. And that's really the underlying benchmark that we should be trying to compare ourselves against. Anyway, moral of my story, I think we should focus more on Eden as being the pathway to get funding for your Fractal.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Great thoughts. Gian, do you want to go first or should I go first?
I just wanted to ask, Chris asked about Eden, and everyone was discussing about Eden Fractal, and so I was going to ask, clarify Chris about what he actually asked. So I think he meant for Eden to approach ENF, and no, we are discussing about Eden Fractal and stuff. So maybe we need to take it broader, and all of Eden. I don't know. I was going to ask Chris about clarifying what he asked first. At the start.
Chris, do you want to clarify that? And so, John, I'm not totally sure you're asking. What's the question?
I didn't quite get you, man.
I was asking, what Chris actually asked us to discuss here. Was it about Eden Fractal or Eden in general?
Eden. Well, first, yeah, Eden, right? I thought this is the Eden Fractal. So this is, maybe I'm confused even what this group's for, which that's a quite problem unto itself. But my assumption was that this is it looks like a group of Eden members who are using the Fractally process to discuss what they've done. So my question is, how should this, maybe that's out of scope for this group, perhaps, maybe this group isn't even the right group to talk about. How do we fund Eden? So the original Eden, the one that you've done the help with the Eden members, that's where I think we need to try to get more funding from the EOS network because they've already funded us in the past. So lowest hanging fruit is let's repeat what we've already seen work. So then how now, from this point forward, we're at the end of our chief delegate term. We have a meeting set up with Eve on October 6th. Seems to me there's a great opportunity here to go to Eve, who is the gatekeeper at this stage. Eve, here's what we've done. We'd like some more funding. We understand that the Chinese, Eden is almost ready. It's going to receive some funding. There's going to be funding for Eden. Maybe we should stick our hands out as well. But in order to do that, we need to sort of have a reason, like why do we deserve more funding? And I put in the chat consider the rigor that the ENF puts into the grant framework. It's not easy. Like a lot of teams have been turned down for what some might consider good uses of funds, but there's some rigor there. So I think we need to consider a pitch. How are we going to pitch to the EVE and the ENF? We'd like more funding. Ideally, that pitch sounds like we'd like more funding because these are all the great, helpful, useful, value-generating things that we've done. One of them would be this Eden Fractal. I agree, there's something here, but it can't be the only thing we're doing. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's just, no offense, folks, but we're not generating a ton of value for the network from this little group of folks. I mean, we're just not. We just have to be somewhat honest with ourselves. We could, there's opportunity. We have not yet. So maybe this is like a future state, and we want to, and then chief delegates or Eden delegates would take some of their funding and move that over to here. Okay, fine. But I don't think it's wise to say, we'd like funding for the Eden fractally, what we're doing here, and we'd like to get money for Eden. I think that's not a very efficient way to go about it. So that's the question, Gian, is how do we ask the ENF for Eden to get more funding?
Yeah, great point. Thanks for explaining, Chris, and thanks for asking that clarification, John. So yeah, I agree that it's best to raise funding for Eden as a whole, Eden the community, and that includes both Eden Fractal and Eden elections and all sorts of initiatives that different Eden builders are doing. And also, this is a great place to talk about it too. I mean, a lot of what we discuss are sometimes more specific to the Fractal because we're getting our work together, but certainly, I mean, certainly I want to, I think everybody agrees that this is a place where we should discuss general Eden members and general EOS matters as well. And I think the more that we can merge like Eden Fractal and Eden elections within the Eden community, like use the best of all these different tools to empower the Eden community as a whole, then the better. Because there's a lot of value that is like, people are kind of confused about different roles, but all of it's really to empower the Eden community. I do think that there's way more value that we're creating here, Chris, at the Eden Fractal than you realize. But also I agree, we need to demonstrate that much better. Vlad said above, to get funding from the ENF, we should prove what we have brought and what value we bring. So I agree. That's an initiative that, well, there's a lot of work for us to do, and we're doing that every day by talking and then making videos here, but we have a lot more to do to organize and curate what we're doing. So it makes it very clear to the ENF and to others as well. That's what aim to do a lot with the Eden Builders initiative, with the website where we can collaborate with there, and also social media if possible, and some other initiatives that I'll share more details about soon. But those are some initiatives that are basically trying to curate our work. And there's also many other initiatives that we can do to better curate our work, to better make our case to the ENF. And then I think that the plan I presented makes sense. Like, it's only really dependent upon a third-party KYC provider, and I think that if we can get a third-party KYC partner, such as Pomelo, to help Eden Fractal and like provide infrastructure, then it could be similar to how ENF funded Pomelo. Like, ENF funded Pomelo with $500,000 to begin with, or like $800,000 or $300,000 over the past 3 seasons, something like that. And like, that's a lot of money. And I think that this Fractal method and Eden election method is more effective than Pomelo in many ways at generating public goods. Pomelo is awesome too. I love Pomelo, but like, it's a pretty small ask when you consider ENF's given about $2 million to Pomelo. And if we're just asking for a relatively small amount of money to start off, then it's not a huge ask. And that money can be asked for both Eden elections and Eden Fractal. And if we're able to do it in that way, then that provides a way with more compliance and less potential liability for everybody involved, and it's a healthier route. In the long term, I think we should fund Eden community with the Eden token, and we should rally around the entire Eden community around the Eden token and request that the ENF subsidizes liquidity for an Eden EOS token. And I think that's the most sustainable way to fund Eden. But in the short term, I think that if we can get a KYC provider 4 seasons, then that will work well. But I'll pass on that. I know a lot of people have been commenting, have been going on for a while. Interested to hear Dwayne's thoughts.
I agree with Chris. The low-hanging fruit is right in front of us. The pathway to fund Eden's been there. I think what Chris is asking for is, what milestones do we need as a group? So I'm not sure if I have much to add to that, but I just want to, for this Fractally group, just give my personal opinion of a longstanding EOS member, and coming in person and finding out just in this 2-3 minutes what community members are doing needs to be advertised more. I've made more contacts and working relationships through this personal interaction than I have in 3 years just on Telegram chats. Now I just work, it's personally just maybe me. I work better in talking than writing. And I think it's something that these other chains don't have. How do you get rewarded without just buying low and selling high to be part of a community other than this? So I see its importance, but I do see all the work that Eden has done to continue that pathway. And I just back you up in what you're saying is that this Eden Fractal then should have participants that go to Eden to get funding for this group. It makes perfect sense. And I don't see us expanding, I guess the high bar of increasing the price of EOS as one of the metrics. I don't think would be something that should be in that pitch. You know what I mean? Like, look at all the great work that the ENF has done, and we're not holding them up to that standard. You know what I mean? We're not saying, hey guys, I'm not sure what paycheck you're getting, but if you don't meet the milestone of increasing the EOS price, you guys aren't getting a bonus this year. I don't think that's realistic. There's too many factors, but the metrics of us bringing in more members, what is the metrics of a good sized group? You know what I mean? We get excited at the fireside chat when we have 70 people, right? We have this whole Fractally group that has 40 people. What does that really mean? And I just said in our little breakout group, how I think some of the tools and the developers that keep on coming to this group that are building tools for this is one great metrics, but are we expanding this group and bringing other people in to EOS? And it might not seem relevant, but I've engaged 3 separate companies just through this group that they found Fractally for some reason that we're bringing over to EOS. And it's just initial talks, but the amount of time you have to spend working with people offline to introduce to EOS, I think that's the metrics. And I think it's just a nice little reward to, instead of dismiss it and go, hey, I don't know if this is even relevant. You guys have 16 people in this group. Well, the people that come in here that are making NFTs, that are trying to do cross platforms, that are trying to actually give their time, that are not paid at all, let's just be kind to them and respect them that, hey, they are here for EOS and doing some work. And I know that it might not seem as big as these other groups, but just to recognize that. And sometimes it doesn't need money. And I think that's what this group does, is we recognize each other and go, thanks for coming out. I appreciate you. This is more than not me just listening to a top-down fireside chat. And it is valuable. And putting milestones on that, I know it's hard when it just comes to metrics of going, you guys are just, whatever. You guys are talking for an hour. Who fucking cares? Well, this group cares. So I just want to see a little bit of compassion of the people that are working hard, that I could be doing anything. I can go off to other chain. We could be doing a lot of other stuff than trying to build EOS. So it's maybe not the funding answer you want, but I just really respect everyone here that shows up every week. And Chris, I see all the hard work you're doing as well. But yeah, how do we put that passion into these milestones of what we're doing, right? So more of a question to the group than an answer, but that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Phil. And just to say, or Dwayne, sorry, I'm not expecting an answer right now. I just think it's something we should start to think about. And considering the idea that we do have a meeting with Eve scheduled in the books for October 6th, it'd be amazing if we could present something to him next week, let him think about it, and then publicly discuss it on the 6th. So give him an opportunity to think about it privately. And this is something the chief delegates, so we've got 2 of them on the call, myself and Dan. So I think I just want to get this idea into this group's head. And let's start to brainstorm. This is just a brainstorming opportunity. I don't expect an answer. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Dwayne. And thank you, Chris, for bringing that up. And then CAC, I meant to raise my hand down. So I guess if you want to go next, you can. That was a mistake on my end, but if not, I can go. Your call.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm sorry, I got disconnected several times. My modem keeps dropping for some reason. That's why it sucks having to go back to the end of the line every time. But I like talking, like Dwayne was talking about and discussing stuff, but can we at least agree today to take some collective action, discuss this interim consensus process and vote on it and then implement it over the next week so we can have some tangible results to present to the ENF or anybody else that may want to fund this thing, that we're actually doing stuff instead of just talking about it? I'm just throwing that out there. Thank you.
This group, you just made me think of, I'll just jump in these hands, I mean, whatever, but using HIFA, we should consider as this group using HIFA. We know that Eden is now giving, or sorry, ENF is giving $850,000 to integrate HIFA into EOS. This group, no other group in EOS right now is really using HIFA. Maybe that's a reason why they could support us, because we're taking it upon ourselves to learn the tool. We have an opportunity right now within Eden. Let's take this cluster. How many of us are not in HIFA yet? Let's go try to use that tool and say, look, ENF, we're actually trying to make use of where you're investing your money into, and we can be part of the onboarding crew and be part of, that's one of the services we can do now, is help other orgs use HIFA, and we can become the material experts on the EOS ecosystem. Just a thought.
Yeah, on that note,
sweet.
I was going to say there's a great new interview that came out. I've only listened to the beginning of it, but I'm listening to it on the Everything US podcast with HIFA and recommend everybody to check it out.
Yeah, Patrick, do you want to go next? Your hand's next.
Go first, Felix.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So sweet. Yeah. I appreciate it, Chris. Yeah. I really think, I love that you brought this topic up, because I think that, yeah, that's important. I think if we approach as Eden as a whole, the Eden fractal is a section that we can talk about. I think what we need to do as Eden as a whole is start to come up with things that, like, I think we should make it regular, where it's like quarterly is when we come to the ENF and we ask for funds, top up, whatever you want to call it. But when we come prepared of, like, this is what, like, we're able to break down why we want the amount of funds. So for example, for the Eden fractal, right now we're doing 100 EOS every single week. This gives, at our current numbers right now, like, I think, let's say like 15 people, right? That gives our top contributors about 10 EOS. At current prices, we're talking about 10, 15 bucks. We're spending about an hour to 2 hours on these calls. That's minimum wage. I don't think that that's crazy amount to, like, ask for. And so, like, I definitely think that should be added to, like, basically whatever. I think it would be beneficial if Eden approaches the ENF and has a number of, like, hey, this is what we'd like to get, but, and this is why we think, like, this is the backup of like the costs broken out, explained. And like I said, the Eden fractal is apart. So I think one thing that we can do here as the Eden fractal is look, like, we're about to hit Q4 here in October. So we need to prepare. And I think that's what we need to think about. Like, we need to be like, all right, guys, what's our goal for this Q4 as far as, like, our our reoccurring membership, an average or something, or like, do we want to hit a certain target? And let's factor that in. Let's do the math. And like I said, if we're just let's keep the numbers, like, simple, like, so I get what you're saying, Chris. Like, yes, like, we're here, we're showing up and we're talking. And so, like, the amount of value that's being added, it's subjective, right? But we're still spending time, like what Dwayne was saying, we're spending time talking about EOS. This is content that's going on the internet. This is stuff that is helping EOS. So for that reason alone, minimum wage, at the very least, 100 EOS. So if we can kind of factor that in, because this is what we've been doing, as far as, like, let's say we plan on hitting 50 members. Okay, well, what if we have 50 members based off the Fibonacci distribution? What is that going to give our top contributors, like, amount of EOS wise? And then, we can do some type of, like, we can do the math of, like, how much is the dollar rate on that. And I think that's a good way to kind of start to think about how we can kind of break out a cost for, like, what we're asking for as far as, like, the Eden fractal section. But I think also Eden as a whole is, I think we need to start thinking about things like, what's important for us is the next thing, like obviously like the website you're working on, like I'm super excited because that is super important. We need to have a clear website. And then next thing, I think we need to make an Eden app. We need to have an application on our phone that we can log into and then be able to handle all of our community stuff. All this stuff that we're doing is all integrated in a single app. And so that's like another thing that I think as like Eden as a whole needs to start to think about and start to break out like a scope of work and the potential costs. And yeah, I think if we do that, then I don't think we're going to have a hard time approaching the ENF quarterly, because I think that's fair too. If we approach them quarterly, like that's business. Like, and I think they would respect that. So yeah, those are just some thoughts I wanted to add.
Thank you, Felix, for your talk. Chris Barnes, thank you to jump here and give your talk. That's nice. Okay, I have here all what you say, everyone, and I was thinking to something. Here we are since June, beginning of June in this Eden Fractal, and we have a next update with Dancing Joy and Felix Ruiz planned for October 23rd. That will be a video hosted by myself. That will be the second Eden Fractal update. And that will be not just a video to say, yes, that's a nice place to go into Eden Fractal. We have nice discussion. We have nice contribution. That will be not that. That will be a video aimed to give what is Eden Fractal on a business side, and also what are our milestones. That's what we are doing. The next steps for this Eden Fractal was supposed to be since today, or maybe on the next week, to go more into the roadmap of Dancing Joy for the Eden Fractal, and also about the interim consensus proposal that we are speaking since 2 weeks now. So, okay, I love Eden on EOS. At the same time, we are Eden Fractal. The name is Eden Fractal, that could be another name, but we are here very independent. We want to do our stuff also, and not depend only of the ENF or Helios or any other third parties. We want to sustain us between us also. I will continue to give funds for this Eden Fractal. I have already stated that, and I will do that. So, because it's about liability, I want to see this Eden Fractal at the most independent and not depending of external property, okay? So I respect a lot the proposals of Chris Barnes, but at the same time, I think we have to be very independent into this Eden Fractal and to be focused on what we are doing. We are not just the saviors of Eden on EOS. However, it is a named Eden Fractal. The goal of Eden Fractal is to be a team where we can do nice contribution and work between us. Jesse Jaffe, nice possibilities. I love this possibility that we become more professional, but we are just putting the ground, and we have not yet voted for the interim consensus proposal. So the next steps have to be done before to go to someone else to ask for funds. So let's do the things step by step. October 6th is very near the door. It's very close. We are not even at a good level of definition. So that will be, for me, the beginning to be not clear if we are not clear first between us. So let's do the things step by step. And the next step is to vote for this interim consensus proposal that has not to be perfect, but seems to be that we have a nice one by Dancing Joy. I have read that many times this week. That was my contribution of this week for this Eden Fractal. And also Tadas, that has left this today discussion. He has made also a good proposal with his interim consensus proposal. So we have to go step by step. And a lot of respect for all the work that we are doing here. As said Duane, we are a long-time contributor into this Eden Fractal. We are not just for one day. So let's go step by step. That's what I mean. And sorry if I am a little bit maybe stressed, but that's my opinion.
Thank you, Patrick. So I guess it's my turn, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, regarding what you guys are talking, I think this fractal is having the same challenge that we are facing at the Spanish-speaking fractal, which is how to create demand for token. The most independence this fractal could achieve would come if the Eden token had demand, so that only by earning it through these meetings, we could finance our members. And that's the exact same challenge we have with the Respeto at the Spanish-speaking fractal. So I'm all ears if you guys have any idea of how to create demand for the Eden token, how to create a market for it, how to make people want it. Because that same strategy could be implemented in every other fractal. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jorge. I mean, you can create a lot of demand by just creating a market for it, like by making the token transferable and liquid, because then people can earn, and then they can earn more. People can invest if they believe that the community will do better and get shared upside and stuff like that. But particularly for early fractals, there's a lot of advantages to not making it liquid in the beginning and to taking some time to do that. And so there are other ways to inspire a community to join and so forth, other than just that monetary and token incentive in the meantime, or by receiving funding elsewhere, like via third party like ENF and so forth, can also be a way to bootstrap it. Happy to discuss it more. There's lots of different ways, but a big part of it just comes to like, how much value the community is providing. Basically, if the community is providing great services or great value in some way, providing welcoming experience, like what Dwayne was talking about, I completely agree. Like bringing people together and stuff, building cool tools. Vlad, James, and many people have built cool tools. Like the more the people respect and value what people are doing, then the more people will value the currency of the community. That's also a big discussion that we can go into lots more too, and I'm interested to do that. But first, I'll also keep it relatively short here. And one thing that I wanted to respond to was something Felix said before about an Eden app, which is interesting, which I had thought about specifically in that term, but thought about around it a lot. But like a single Eden app, that's an interesting idea. I've been thinking we can basically make with the Eden Votes proposal, that can work quite well with Consortium right now. And in addition to proposals, Consortium can also do polls. And there are perhaps ways that we can incentivize that and gamify that, where people can earn tokens by participating in polls and proposals and stuff like that, if we want to. Of course, it's more complexity. We might just want to keep it simple at the beginning. And also BBS, I've mentioned a lot too. I talked with Vlad about that quite a bit, and there might be some technical challenges, but I think that we can at least start using just the native BBS app, because they have a token that's built in. And then maybe have some way to weight that with the Eden token at some point. We can kind of play it by ear, but that would, BBS is like a pretty full function, like Reddit, like social media app on EOS. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Eden Fractal to work with BBS and further explore that. I encourage everybody to explore that, and also explore Consortium too, because Consortium has lots of great features that I spent a lot of time thinking about. I think they could be very helpful for Eden and Eden Fractal. And then, yeah, Fractally is building social media tools that seem like they might be about 6 months away or maybe longer. So if we could do something sooner, then that would be helpful. But I expect those tools will be really cool and helpful. I've been reading the white paper part about that a lot. And so that's an option. Also, Haifa, they call it an organization in the box. They have lots of different apps and so forth. So that could also be helpful. And in general, like a lot of people who are familiar with DAOs are talking about modularity. So like there's a good chance that we won't necessarily find one app that does everything we want, but we can use several different apps for different purposes as different kind of modules. So that might be a good way to go about it. But I agree, the more that we can get an app and, condense and bring together all the cool stuff into one place, it makes it easy for people to benefit from Eden and learn about Eden and also earn Eden and give Eden and so forth. Like that's awesome. And that's a great goal to work towards. One other thing I was going to say too, before passing on to Bjorn, is I mentioned the idea to fund Eden fractal meetings with $1,000 a week, and I think that's an interesting idea. But also, like along the same lines, we're talking about funding the whole Eden community. I think it could make sense to combine that in a pitch whereby we could also ask for something similar for Eden elections. Like, I don't know what would be an appropriate number in addition to whatever's in the treasury and whatever else. Like perhaps we could ask that the ENF sets up something similar to Pomelo, whereby Eden elections get like $20,000 per election, or 50 or 10 or 100, or I don't know what the number would be. I guess 25 is maybe like a small number to start out with, but they've also given a lot more in the past. So that might be good, but that might be good to also try to do it with that kind of compliant method with a third party too. But just a thought that we might want to consider, and I'll pass on to Gian now.
Yeah, I want to ask some doubts I had when I first joined this Eden Fractal. And, as Patrick said, Eden Fractal need to be independent. It's not dependent on ENF or Eden or anyone. But first of all, I want to ask that why name it Eden Fractal in the first place? So I asked this several times. Why not name it EOS Fractal? Because it makes much more sense. And for me, I come here each week, not because of anything else, but because of the people. Because I myself love being here, talking with people, and like CSC, he said, do something. It's been all talks and stuff, and I do love that people. I think I stood for 6 hours or so in a meeting, and I do really love that. But I'm so confused. I say when we say each time we say Eden Fractal, I'm very much confused. So maybe after the video Patrick and Felix and you are going to do, it may become clear. But I'm confused and also conflicted, because the first thing I first joined Eden, and then I started hearing Eden Fractal, and as Chris said, the first thing that came into my mind was, is that like a separate group trying to take people away, something like that? Because I was hesitant to join, because I didn't want to be a part of that, essentially. So because I didn't know what it is, and I still don't know what it is exactly. So that's my, I'm confused about all this. And each time, yeah, you guys are saying many things, but maybe make it clear. It's confusing for me. And yeah, and the other thing is, if we are going to pay with the EOS, if you're asking for 1,000 EOS per week, then why should there be a token? So I don't get the need for that. Then I thought at some point the token is going to be when we have some value, the mutual respect and stuff, and maybe something like that. So I'm also confused about this Eden token, the use of that token. So yeah, and the other thing about BBS, using BBS. So BBS, that instance, or the BBS and the BBS token, that I don't think it suits this purpose, because I'm using it daily. So on the token allocation and stuff, it's quite random, and yeah, so it might not be appropriate to use the BBS. But then there's the DWeb framework. I think Patrick knows a lot about that, because I saw him in that group asking many questions. So maybe that framework we can modify it to something else, and maybe there's no need for that, because there's Haifa and other stuff already there. So maybe we can use that also. So yeah, that's all I want to say and ask. Yes. Maybe not answer it right now, but when you're doing that video, you can maybe consider these as well, because yeah, I'm confused right now, and maybe yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Gian. I don't know. I guess I'll share some thoughts of like what you just said. Like, so I do see the importance of us wanting to stay independent with our Eden token, and there's potential that we can find ways to I don't know, like add more value to it by, I don't know. I think that there could be potential through this interim process. Like, and at some point we really need to talk about what do we see the future for this token. How do we want to strategically deploy? Like we can create, like we can, like right now, I really don't know like all the technicals behind our token other than like what we're receiving every single week, but we can at some point talk about, okay, like, let's see if we can actually create more of this, put this out to a market. If we can find a reason for like, why would people want to buy this and how would they be able to integrate it with what we're doing? I don't know if we're there yet. I think we still need to take our time. Right now, I'm just looking at this very much as a way of like our reputation system within Eden. And so I think right now the funding, like it makes sense to continue to get like funding through Eden and directly by talking to the ENF through EOS and then pairing that potentially with Eden, the Eden token in some way. And another thing, I ideally what a way I see that we could have, like what can make a use case, like a utility for the Eden token is these meetings itself, right? If we want to take time to talk, time is expensive and we need to, I think that's a use case right there. You want some time to talk, you're spending some respect tokens in order to talk. And then that also would be interesting. These are ideas right now that I still think are probably like further down the road. I think right now, at least what's coming to my mind is like, what I think we need to be doing is thinking about how do we get more users, more people coming here? So whatever we need to do to set up the interim process to get us ready for just like, we're going to be bringing in more people, but it needs to be flexible enough to where these new people that are coming in have to earn their way to be able to have an impact of where this fractal ends up moving through whatever this interim process that we choose to accept. But I do agree with like, you know, what CAC was talking about. Like we need to set a date and decide on what we're doing. And like, I just want to add, I think we need to start simple. Again, I do like that, you know, Nova or Patrick was talking about like his contribution for the week was like reading and figuring out what's being proposed. Because that is time that like, I'm going to be honest, I haven't gone through all of that yet. Like, that's why I'm advocating, like, let's use this week. Let's do it step by step. Let's make it simple. There's no reason it needs to be complex right now. I don't think we need it to be super complex when we have the same reoccurring members coming every single week. We're not going to break the system. We're in control right now with how we want to do things. We want to slowly decentralize it. Like we are decentralized, but at the same time, if we had 100 or 1,000 members come to this fractal right now, are we going to let them hijack this fractal? Like, no, why would we do that? That's not smart. And so we have to realize there's a level of centralization and we have to slowly decentralize it out, but we can't be trying to create a perfect decentralized system from the get-go. And it's not going to get us anywhere. We're just going to be going in circles and just talking. And so that's why, again, like we need to set a date. I'm not really taking the lead on this because like I said, my stance is I want something simple and I want to see, you know, what's proposed within the community. My kind of, I feel like contributions more are thinking on, like I said, the NFT side, and then also just adding my input in these meetings. But when it comes to the interim process, yeah, we need to set something in stone because next steps for me is like, I want to grow this fractal. These next couple months, I want to really start to try to incentivize and make that a narrative of like, who are you bringing in? Who did you reach out? Did you try to bring new people to this community? Oh, okay. If you didn't, that's fine. If you have other contributions, I'm going to consider that, but I'm not going to weigh that as heavy as somebody who's bringing in people because that's an important KPI that's going to give us more funding. And that's just going to add to the growth of what we're doing here. So yeah, just some thoughts again. So I'll pass it over to Dwayne.
Going back to the Eden, you know, our main Eden group, election coming up in October. I think we're missing one big valuable part of why Eden started: proof of person, right? Like Felix was saying, reputation. With EOS Independence Day with Antelope launching today with IBC. My question is there a need for our sister chains like Wax and Telos and these other chains to have just the function, not the chief delegates pushing forward what we want to do for EOS, but just the functionality of Eden being a verified proof of person? It's huge. Look, Vitalik put out a couple soul NFTs and got all these hits that it's a very needed aspect to have respect, know who you are, whether it's KYC. We've done that. That's a huge thing. If we got back to the basics to grow that group, I would propose and put some effort into branching that over. I know the Wax communities in these games that are taking value out of these huge pots of money from bots and other people, that just this simple aspect of proof of person is huge. And then to answer John's question of what's the difference between these two groups, in my mind, Eden was elected people that have respect, that are willing to put time into EOS to decide what we should be doing as a distributed group of people. They're running an election on a promise of what they're going to do in the next 3 months. This group is coming once a week, more active on saying, what have you done for EOS lately? What have you done this last week? So it's kind of that in between Pomelo, hey, I'm putting a pitch in. This is what I promise to do in the future. This is Eden. Trust me, I'll do this in the future. Saying, hey, I'm a community member. I don't have a big team. I'm not a block producer. I'm not going up for a grant for Helios. I'm maybe not in between that Pomelo pitch. This is what have you done for EOS lately? And if we were maybe a little bit more prescriptive, I know we have the Bs doing marketing and we have EOS support doing support, but if it was just referrals on people joining this call, it is a way to grow the community, right? So if we just maybe were prescriptive of what we should be doing. I know there's developers doing bigger work, and we show them a lot of respect building tools because we have to keep them going. Huge thing, people marketing. But if we were a little bit more prescriptive, maybe that's some of the milestones we can go and show the in-between of why this is here. And definitely, this is an experiment in governance. Chris's suggestion of us trying out Hypha, well, this is another experiment. We're trying out Fractally. So if we can commit to maybe in Telegram or how we want to get together this next week, I say we have an offer on the table from Chris to put in some time, us to put in some time, and the ENF is over here saying, hey, tell us something we want to hear. Let's start with that and at least try and get to that the first base for Eden to get some money. And then obviously us working with Eden, it's, the connection's right there. We're smart enough people to figure out the milestones to show that we have value. But I've got to leave. I just wanted to really put that in there, that let's take the opportunity to refine this. And, if we come together every week to put in some work, I think we can all put in a little bit of work this week to, to help Chris out and to help that pitch for the ENF. And I'm willing to participate in that as well. So that's the challenge. And happy Independence Day.
Just to say one thing about what you said, Dwayne, which is awesome. The proof of person thing and the soulbound token part is, to me, one of the biggest value adds that Eden has, because it's a Sybil check. Once you compete in an election, it is, I don't know of any other example that we've got in the crypto space other than this. And if we can, your example of Wax and how it's so needed to have this type of thing, IBC is around the corner. It's live on testnet right now. So Guillaume, I was just listening to the most recent coalition meeting, and Guillaume has launched this is going to come out within a month or so and be live and running, and Wax is part of that coalition. So that means that there's an opportunity for Wax applications to now use IBC to potentially pull data from EOS and the EOS member tables to then validate accounts on Wax. There should be a working group maybe that starts to look into this. And that could be a huge value add that Eve would implicitly see as being something that's useful for Eden now, because we're starting to branch out into use cases that actually help the whole coalition. That's, I think, powerful, to your point, and maybe something that we should consider how do we pitch that? Hey, we're going to work on that now. We've got some Eden members who are going to deliberately take that as part of their pitch. Hey, vote for me to be a level 1 delegate or a chief delegate, because I'm going to take the funding that I get to work on this. That could be something useful.
Yeah, and throw HIFA in there as well. You know what I mean? And that bridges Telos as well. You know what I mean? We need that. We don't need to redevelop the wheel. So yeah, I'll participate in that working group for sure.
Cool. Sounds great. Thanks, Dwayne. I think you might have to leave in a minute or so, but I just want to say thanks, Dwayne. Really appreciate all the words and leadership you've been sharing today, and then in general too. You shared a lot of inspiring, really helpful stuff, and I agree. I also encourage everybody to join the Alien Worlds Fractal on Thursdays at 16 UTC. You can meet a lot of Alien Worlds and Wax people there doing awesome work. I joined in there, really fun and really helpful. And then, yeah, happy Independence Day. And then just to be clear, were you suggesting that we meet sometime this week to like discuss using HIFA or something like that, or to build the proposal?
More for Eden, this group helping Eden to you know, a lot of us are Eden members, but you know, let's help those deliverables, because it then helps us as a fractal, right? If Eden gets money from ENF and the pipeline's there, then we have just Eden to talk to, right? So I think a little bit of contribution from us would show, hey, what's the Eden Fractal doing? Oh, well, they all actually coordinated and got together to help this pitch for Eden, right? We have, you know, dedicated people that show up every week. So it's to say we're separate, we're not, right? You know, maybe we're more active in this weekly meeting, but that could be something that it doesn't take a lot of time. We can meet for an hour. Let's just collectively get the people that are going back to bat for us, like Chris, and that are having these meetings with the ENF. Let's give them as much ammunition as we can.
Cool. Sounds great. I agree. And I'd be happy to participate in that meeting as well. And I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Dwayne. Cool. I suppose
I'm just going to put a comment right now in the Eden members chat. I think the working group is the entire community, to be quite honest. So I'm just going to put it out there in this chat and see who engages, and just start the brainstorming publicly within our group, which is the Eden members channel that has 391 members. So I think that's a good first step. So I'll do that right now.
sounds great. Thank you, Chris. I agree. Cool. There's a few notes that I had written down in response to Juan, Felix, CAC, and Jorge. Does anybody else have any comments about this topic first you'd like to share first, or should I get on with these with these notes? Felix, you're muted.
Oh, my bad. I was gonna add a little bit to what Chris and Marco's ideas. But yeah, I don't know if you think that's relevant to bring that up. If you're gonna bring the conversation elsewhere, I can do that.
I mean, I was gonna bring it to a couple of different places. I was gonna be pretty quick, but I don't know. I don't remember which Marco. Marco hasn't spoken in a while. You talking about Dwayne's ideas?
Well, no, it was an earlier topic about the idea, right? So when it comes to the interim process, whatever we're wanting to call it, like how this fractal is reaching consensus of like what we're doing, I think just next steps need to be like, what do we need to do? What can we agree on here? As far as like I said, let's set timelines. For example, like I liked a lot like Marco's idea of like having an idea, a theme of like every week. But the way I started thinking about like with what he like those thoughts, like what can we can do a proposal, right? Where it's like, okay, for 2 weeks, our mission statement, whatever you want to call it, like right now, how we're choosing to value contributions is based off our mission. Well, I mean, we don't have really a mission statement, but over on Fractally, right? The mission statement is like building out the Fractally software and then also spreading the Fractally process. Eden here, it's like, you know, the Eden Fractal here is like basically contributions for EOS. But if we can start to narrow in of like, okay, this is the number one thing that we're going to hold our community as like accountable, kind of like this is what we're going to value the highest, right? So if we all can agree and somebody comes with a proposal like what Chris suggested of like using HIFA, if we think that that is valuable to use HIFA and experiment with that, then that can be like, we can reach an agreement here as a Eden Fractal saying, hey, for the next 2 weeks, whoever's bringing the highest contributions of showcasing and using the HIFA technologies, we're valuing that as the highest contributions. And if we can agree to that as a fractal, then that helps steer all of us in that direction of like, okay, those are the contributions. They're going to be rewarded the heaviest. And then that, I think that helps give us more direction too, of like completing, great things. Cause like that's good. Like what Chris brought to the table is like, that's an idea that he thinks can bring a lot of value for the Eden Fractal and Eden to come to the ENF to be able to get more funds. And so that's the type of like, that's what I want to be able to do here within this Eden Fractal, is to be able to go and reach consensus on what are we valuing as the highest contributions for some type of time span, ideally like probably 2 weeks. I don't know, but have it in a time limit, and then it expires and then on to the next, right? Something like that. That's how I think we should be thinking about using this interim process. And I that's what I think suggesting like our next steps are as far as regarding to like accepting something. It doesn't have to be super formal. I think we just need to go for it. Like I said, whatever the next proposal is, like, why not just do that? And then whatever we accept it. And then we figure out like, if we find some things where we're like, okay, well, like I said, I don't think we're going to have an issue right now. Everyone here who's participating should have an equal vote, right? Everyone here has been here for a while. I don't think we need to discuss about whose vote should be weighed more or not. And then as we start to grow, then we can start to implement other things. Like if we have a lot of more members come, then yeah, then that makes sense that now we want to have some type of weight to our votes, because we want to keep this fractal and the votes on the decisions of where we're going to the committed members, the ones who have shown throughout time and through their reputation of their participation in this fractal, help guide where we go on our decisions. So yeah, sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to like go on that rant, but that's all I had to say. So
Hey, if I can comment on that.
It's all right. Thanks, Felix, for sharing your inspiration. And Marco, would you like to comment briefly? I've also got a lot that I'd like to share as well.
Briefly is what I do. I'm a big opponent of expiration dates. The idea I presented was an idea, top idea of the week, top moment of the week. Kind of like Chris Barnes has the top 5 moments of the EOSI week. Here we just have he'll present a sentence or two, something that can fit into a tweet, and everyone can propose. Time may be an issue, may need to work that, but we vote on the top idea presented here. We're here, let's do something. That something is, call it a mission statement for the week. Well, better than a mission statement, what's identified as the key topic, key concern of the week from the Eden community. We don't call it Eden Fractal because Eden can't do it. Eden meets every few months, but Eden Fractal can. And we keep it on topic with Eden. We use that as presentation and it voices that really concerns. As that grows, maybe other people who believe Eden's effective for EOS or who have concerns for Eden can voice their concerns here. But it doesn't take, it's only for the after discussion. So we're here anyway, and it wouldn't take long to identify one topic we can get behind or agree, maybe not agree that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Felix, and thanks, Marco, for sharing these thoughts, and a whole bunch of inspiration and a whole bunch of things to consider. I'll try to be fairly quick and expedient in responding to a bunch of different things. So, I mean, for one thing, like, it's good when you have a consensus process, you can basically use that to send the signal of the community that the community like respects and appreciates a certain goal, such as Vlad said in the chat, like focusing group's energy on requesting more funding from the ENF. Felix also sharing some similar stuff. But also at the end of the day, it's always subjective to depending on how each contributor wants to value it as well. But I agree that having interim consensus process can be a helpful tool to state the opinion of the community, and that can help guide the community and help answer questions. I'd appreciate a lot, Felix, and then also everybody, if you do have the time to read the proposals, because I think that they're really important. And I understand people want to move fast on it, but also Like this is like the most important thing. It's like when you build a rocket ship, you want to build a rocket ship well before you send it off to space. And this is like one of the main things that is like the brain of the rocket ship, so to speak, how we make decisions and so forth. And so when people build rocket ships, they take many months and many years. I'm not suggesting that we take near that long, but I don't think that there's a need to propose it like super soon. CAC was saying like, let's do something so we can show the ENF that we're making progress. The ENF won't be particularly impressed by the fact that we propose an interim consensus process. What's more important is that we propose a good one and then we use it to create value. It's like the consensus process in itself isn't something that is like a huge value add in the sense of people seeing it, but it is a huge value add in the fact of what we can do with it. And it's also like, as Sadas mentioned last week, and as I mentioned, like there is risk of bad proposals passing and like awkward situations and things that are irreversible. So like, I think Felix, you mentioned like giving everyone a vote, and I don't think that would be a sustainable way, because like then you have questions like what happens if a new person comes? They have just as much vote as you or me or Jorge or somebody who's been there the whole time. Like we wanted to think this out in advance so we don't have, you know, lots of decision-making processes and drama and so forth. And we have, you know, respect allocated. So we have a voting tool like consortium. So with the votes proposal, for example, we could pretty simply give voting power more to people who are participating more. I see you unmuted there, Felix. Do you want to respond to that first before I go on? Or
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say though, why I'm kind of against just thinking way too much of like, okay, like what if scenarios. Let's just see what happens if we have new members. That if we have a ton of people coming in and they're impacting the vote, we don't have to follow that. Like we here have control basically over the MSIG. So like, yes, I know that's not like that may be taboo to say because we're thinking about decentralization in large, but at the end of the day, like when we start to have those issues, then we build things to fix those issues. Like right now we're just guessing like, okay, we think that this may happen, so this is the solution that I would like to propose, but there's just a lot of complexity for no reason right now. Right now we just need to make decisions on voting things. And like I said, right now, if a new member comes and they want to add their vote, I mean, let's see what happens. If it affects the vote, if it becomes an issue, then we bring it up, or then we'd be like, okay, well, look, this is becoming an issue. This is why I want to propose this. And then this becomes the next thing that we vote on. But at the simplest level, we just need to accept something of like, okay, like, I mean, right now I'm almost at a point, like we need to, like, why not just do something right now? Let's vote on something that like, basically we're going to vote that every week we're going to have a vote on something till we have a little bit more clear process. And in the meantime, it's not set in stone. Like we can't be locked in that. I think we're putting a little too much emphasis on like whatever we accept, it's set in stone. Like we're experimenting, we're going week by week, and we'll figure it out. I think there's way too much like thinking of worst case scenario right now. And I mean, in reality, that's not going to happen. Like we're not getting thousands of people coming in. And if we did, then we'll deal with it when that happens. But like I said, I think we got to start simple and we'll build as we start to see the problems. I mean, we can accept what you guys are proposing, right? And maybe we should, and then let's set a time limit. Let's just do that. But like, all I'm saying is like, yeah, let's do something now though. Like, let's come up with something that we're voting, because we're putting way too much emphasis on like, it's permanent. Like, it's not permanent. We can work things out. We all have like similar aligned like values of where we want this to be headed. So let's just trust that in itself will make this community work, and we'll figure it out as we go.
So right now, anybody's free to use an informal process. If you want to just like take a show of hands, who wants to do this? Like there's nothing stopping you from doing that, and anybody can do that. Like we have that capacity, but what we're establishing here is a formal governance process. And yeah, it's interim, we can change it, but when we establish a formal governance process, we want to be able to like respect and play the rules for that. Because otherwise, if you establish a formal governance process and you break the rules, then what's the point of having a formal governance process? So we're free to use informal, casual governance process if we want for different decisions. But with important decisions, we should have a formal governance process that will be like ready to handle different situations that we have and the different kinds of proposals that could be proposed. Like right now, we could make a proposal if we wanted to say like, oh, let's wear blue shirts next week. We could all just say that. It's not a big deal if we mess that one up and we vote and somebody doesn't wear a blue shirt. But then if we make a proposal like, let's make the Eden token liquid or something, like some people want to do that, and I want to do that eventually. It's a great idea. It can have a huge effect. But like, that's not the kind of thing that we should just go raise our hands and do it. Like, this is something that has many implications. It's not reversible once you do it. Once you do it, it's done. And like, we need to have a process that thoroughly accounts like for like making sure we're making these decisions in a good way. And the proposals that I had, that I made with votes, and the proposals that Fidas is putting, like, we're putting a lot of work into this because we want to make it so we don't have an awkward situation where in like 3 weeks we pass an interim consensus process and then we do a proposal and then like there's just all sorts of chaos because the proposal wasn't suited to like actually express the opinion of the community and be able to handle these larger decisions.
I mean, I get that, but what's the big what is something big right now that we would be proposing that needs that? I think when we get to that place, let's say a proposal does come, then that's when we reject it. If we're at simple terms right now where it's like yes, no, anyone can vote. If it's something that's more complex that could really steer this community, then that's when we're like, okay, well, look, before we need to as a community figure out a way that we're going to vote that we think is fair based off our experience, our history here, and we all talk it out of like, okay, what parameters do we want to set in place? Like, yes, it's a little centralized because like, let's say we're to 100 members and then there's a big proposal, but ideally, yes, we want to, my big thing is like, let's just use a simple proposal process to add the layers. So then we're not expecting everybody to have to go read and then accept something big. Just add it by proposals every single week. It's like, I'm proposing to add this extra layer for bigger proposals. And then we take a yes, no vote on that, but to accept something big all up front for what purpose? Like, what's the next proposal? Like I said, next proposals right now, to me, what makes sense is like, yes, we've got the Eden election coming up. We're heading into Q4. So honestly, what Chris brought up is something that I think is a topic of like, okay, that's something that we maybe that could be a proposal in itself. So if we put that up, why do we need to have a super complex method right now? I don't think we really need that right now, especially if it's like a 2-week experimental phase where it's like the next 2 weeks, we're valuing those contributions at the highest. Simple. Yes, no. Okay. We reached consensus on that, but we don't have to have something super complex. And then that's holding us up. We're trying to figure this out. And then there's no actual progress anywhere else because we're just trying to wait until we've decided on this.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts, and sorry for interrupting you, but I just want to jump in because Jorge also made a good point that him and CAC and Giorn and Patrick have been talking for a while, and we haven't been super respectful of that. And so I'll just say too, like, I think that we can do informal proposals, like if we want to say, let's vote to do that, like raise funding or something like that. Like, there's nothing stopping us from doing that now if we want, but when we do the formal consensus process, we should be more careful. But I'll pass it on now, and then we can talk more about this in a bit later after we hear everybody. CSC or Jorge, or CSC lowered hand. Jorge.
Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to ask if there is any agenda for this meeting, like any order of the day with specific topics, or we are just rambling about whatever comes to our heads first. So I think people times here is valuable. So as far as I know, today's topic was interim consensus proposal. So why are we not, why have been talking about anything else? That on the first side. On the second point I want to make is that having an interim is a key word. It's temporary. Interim consensus proposal is crucial for these small changes, and the proof that this is crucial is that we have Felix, we have Patrick, we have me, pretty frustrated about having this topic coming again. And last week I didn't make it to this meeting, but the week before that we were talking about the same, and we have been spending community hours talking about this when we could actually either approve one of the two proposals or the other and then move on and talk about other things. the fact that this topic is consuming community resources, meaning time, is the proof that we need to solve it, and we need to solve it as ASAP. And another way to look at it is think about cars, guys. If you guys were on 1900 and there were no roads, there were no stoplights, only cars. According to current thinking, you will have waited to have roads and spotlights, stoplights, and bridges and everything in order to have the first car. That doesn't make sense because one thing will bring the other one. So I do think we need to prioritize these small steps, meaning the interim consensus proposal, in order to, on top of that, build more things. And I think it's getting more urgent by the day, because otherwise the frustration of the community is going to accumulate, and as to why are we spending this time here, just hearing random ideas, none of which gets to a definite point, none of which gets either approved or disapproved. If we don't advance, then what's the difference between these meetings and rambling with the mother of my wife? So please, guys, let's set a deadline on when are we going to approve the next consensus proposals and move on. Thank you.
We have said that already 4 times. And Chris is jumping today. We have already said that since 3 weeks that we have to accept an interim consensus proposal. I see into the chat, Chris, you are asking. So if I take your question, because that's very interesting, seems to be that no one has answered to that, but I will try that we answer to that, because it's not just Chris, this could be anyone asking that. He say, okay, I will take the question here. Okay, so we vote and pick an interim consensus process, then what? What difference will that make? What changes? Okay, so that's very interesting, because that's, let me think, and don't take my words harsh, just take that as information, okay? I am not against Chris. This is not a competition. I just stating something here very important, and thank you, Jorge, to remind us that the time that we spend into those meetings, that's very important also, because today, to be honest with you, I was not coming the last week, and today I was coming because I was thinking we will go forward with at least a proposal, doing some shit, begin something and begin to do the things, okay? And like Jorge, I am a little bit like, okay, we are turning the question in the question. Now seems to be that the money is coming, the most important point, that we have to raise money. But before to raise money, we have to come with some KPIs to show what we are doing here with this hidden fractal. We are going week after week. Now we are just a little bit stagnation because we are repeating the things. So now we have to vote for an interim consensus proposal. Seems to be that today is not possible. So at least maybe next week. But a milestone, as we said already 3 weeks ago. And then we can move on. Then we can contribute between us, do beautiful things, not just the money, but also contribute. Myself, I want to contribute to this hidden fractal, and I see you in the eyes now, and I see you, Patrick, Nova Crypto, LLC, will continue to fund this hidden fractal. I will send money, and I don't wait on ENF, and I don't wait on anyone. If ENF is giving some funds to Eden, like Duane said, respect, fantastic. But if they don't do, so we have to stop the hidden fractal because we don't receive money. No, we have to continue. It's a startup. We have to do something decentralized. And I love this hidden fractal. That's not just to be the savior of Eden on EOS, it's also to be independent. Okay, I am 360-degree vision. I understand that Eden on EOS is important. to raise more participation. We are Eden Fractal. We have to mesh a little bit with Eden on EOS. I understand, but we have to be independent in mind. We will become the savior of other groups. We have to do the things for us. And if we can contribute to Eden on EOS, fine, yeah, baby, that will be fantastic. And we have all win at the end, but not be money driven. So first, do this interim. That was supposed to be the steps that we have to go forward. Dance Enjoy also, he want to show us a roadmap that we take the decision together, not just that someone come, or let's say anyone say, now we have to go into this direction. Because if we take that for granted, it's like to be, sorry to say, we are the ships, and we let someone to guide us. We are together. Otherwise, I don't see the goal of this fractal. We have to contribute between us. So I am totally okay with Rory stating today that's a kind of for some people. Okay, for me, I speak. It's a kind of waste of time because we repeat always the same narrative. So we know what we have to do. If Yves Larose would be now into this Eden Fractal and he has to give money from ENF for Eden Fractal, he will say, but what have you really done apart of speaking? Yeah, we speak a lot, but we are also building something. But for an investor of exterior, an external investor, he don't think the same. He want to do real KPI, real milestone, real things, and we have to deliver something. So next week, I hope we go forward with an interim consensus proposal. That could be TADAS, that could be Dance Enjoy, a mesh of the proposal of TADAS with the proposal of Dan, the best of the two worlds, and we have something good, and we go forward. Okay, sorry, I stop here because I am repeating. Seems to be that's the problem here. We are repeating week after week the same narrative. And now Chris is jumping. That's nice because he has questioning to the chat at the same time. That's a little bit confused sometimes because he asks a lot of questions in the chat. He put some things into the water, and I was thinking. Sometimes I am also upset, and I was thinking after a while, no, that's great because that leads to the discussion. So otherwise, we are here stuckhead. Sorry, we are stuckhead. Okay, so don't be stuckhead and continue. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, let's just vote on one then. Like, so here's a question, just the antithesis question. What's the downside if we just pick a process that isn't like, let's just pick one and go forward. If the consensus is let's just do one. Let's just vote. Let's just make it happen. Okay. I mean, if nothing changes, so be it. But at least we'll know. Yeah, I'll vote right now. I don't even need to read them. I trust enough people here that I'll just see what other people are voting.
You should read.
And I know,
no,
but
sorry.
I also
you should
have a lot of
not only make trust to the people. No, sorry.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
But I mean,
Exactly. And
rational
instead
ignorance
of
matters,
looking for
and so I would just
perfection-
vote for what people thought.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and instead of looking for perfection, for the perfect consensus proposal, let's look on faster iteration. Fast iteration will lead us to that perfect
now
consensus proposal.
How about we respect the order, and Joan's had his hands up for a long time?
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But I will vote for Dance Enjoy proposal and Tada's proposal, and we have two proposals very good, and we have to go forward. Otherwise, we are still here in 2 months. Sorry.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Patrick.
Yeah. So I
and
also
all my
have
respect, by the way.
Likewise.
But Dance Enjoy, please, don't be only open-minded 400 degree. You are so open-minded that we will never take a decision.
Oh, come on, Patrick. He has a bigger mane than you. You got to take notice to that line with the bigger mane.
Yeah, thank you, MacBird Sparrow. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure what you meant by the main, but anyway, Joran, what's up, Joran?
So yeah, I have the same opinion. We should do something, and I think Dan said, we can make informal decisions and decisions which are not important. So who decides what are these important decisions and which are something we can do right now. So and that first thing, and then if maybe we can add to the current proposals, we can add something like, these proposal will, everything done via this proposal will be where, can be retracted after, say 1 month or something like that. Or, every decisions made, it can, it can be brought back if another proposal, if another consensus proposal passes or something like that. If you're worried, if you're worried about something might break, and yeah, I don't know if it's possible or it makes sense. Maybe we can do something like that. And yeah, I think we should have something. For example, if I say we should consider changing the name to ƒractal. So can I do it now, or should I wait for a consistent, internal process to pass? So yeah, about the important decisions and something we can make right now as an example. So what is a decision we can make right now without any processes?
Yes, I raise my hand, and I will put my hand down after. Just I do short. You can do the same if you want. Informally, I raise my hand. I am in favor of the proposal of Dancing Joy, because this is very inclusive. That's take in account a lot of things already. That's cool. There is room for improvement for sure, but we can already start with something. And we take also in account some ingredients of Jorge and Tadas, and we have something beautiful. So let's go. So I raise my hand informally here. I am in favor of that.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Juran.
Someone want to raise his hand also? Maybe that's a question.
Well,
seems to be that I am alone. Okay, as always.
There's also CAC and myself who have had our hands up, and Felix too for responding there too.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I appreciate your perspective and words, Patrick, and your support. And then also I'm happy to respond to Juran specifically as there. But I don't know if CAC has his hands raised up first for a while. Do you want to speak first before I go? Looks like not. Okay, cool. So yeah, so a bunch of points. One, Jorn, I'd be interested to learn what is specifically confusing to the ƒractal. I don't think to you about the ƒractal. I don't think that the name of the fractal is necessarily something that would be determined in the consensus process. Like it could be potentially, but I think that basically ƒractal can work kind of like Hive or Steam, where you have hive.blogpeat.com. So I would say if you want to call it EOS Fractal, then you can go ahead and promote it as such. I plan to continue promoting it as ƒractal. I think it's the best name for many purposes, but EOS Fractal also works in many other cases too. Particularly, I like Fractal because it, like many EOS community members, don't care about like these live meetings. They don't care about true democracy and fractal governance and workable animals and stuff like that. Whereas the Eden community does care about these. So that's why I think that makes sense that's Fractal, and also that's just the way it happened, and it takes time to redo it. But if you want to call it EOS Fractal, then I'd say go ahead. You also asked before about the EOS paid. Like the Eden token provides independence and incentive for the community, but it's not ready. So that's why we have EOS coming now, while we're raising to raise funding in EOS until the Eden token is more mature and has funding and so forth. It's kind of like young and so forth. Thanks also for the thoughts before that you shared about BBS. I'm looking forward to listening to those before. Regarding the proposal, people are saying that it's stagnating. In my opinion, like if it were up to me, we wouldn't be discussing the urgency of making the proposal, because I don't think that there is like a huge amount of urgency, because we haven't defined what proposals we want to pass with this. Like what we should be discussing is how to make the best process. There's a lot of people who haven't read the proposals. I should have also mentioned before. So last week, last Tuesday, I shared the proposal at edencreators.com/votes. It's in the Eden Discord. I encourage everybody to read these. I'd be interested to hear if anybody has any specific thoughts. We've talked all about urgency of making a proposal, but we haven't talked about specifics of it. So I'd be happy to hear, like Patrick shared his support for it, and I appreciate that. But I'd appreciate, basically, in case anybody's not familiar, it's basically using the a new token which is equal to respect, but it's never tradable, or it could be equal to level but never tradable. But currently the proposal is for equal to respect but never tradable, and we use that to vote. And then people vote in consortium, and you have to get 66% of votes. So it's a pretty simple proposal. There's lots of details to say exactly how it works and so forth, but it's pretty simple. And I'd love to hear perspectives about the votes proposal or also perspectives about Hadassah's proposal too. We don't need to discuss this here. Like, we're already achieving our goal by having breakout meetings and by coming together, like Dwayne was saying, and making connections and sharing what we're doing. This isn't stagnating, and we're already creating a lot of value. A lot of the value we don't see yet, but like we're creating long-term value. And we don't need to have these discussions right now about like the interim consensus process at every meeting. Like, if we want to, we can take a week off from it, take 2 weeks off and just think about it. I agree we should get this set up soon. Hopefully we can get it next week, but if it takes another couple weeks, then that's okay too. Yeah, but like first we should also figure out like what are the proposals we want to pass. Like, that's what I'm trying to do with the roadmap. I'm working on a roadmap. Like, it's super basic right now. You can check it out if you want at edencreators.com/roadmap, but like I'm aiming to have a lot more details by next week to share, because like these are sharing proposals that I'm aiming to make once we have the interim consensus process. And it matters what interim consensus process we use to pass these proposals, because like I'm aiming to build kind of like a social media app that uses the votes token and stuff like that. So like there's a lot to think about here, and it's helpful to, rather than just think let's just do it without knowing what we're doing, like to coordinate on what do we want to do, what is the best way to set this up, what proposals do we want to make, and so forth afterwards. And remember that like this is only one part of what the Eden Fractal is doing. We don't need to pass the interim consensus process this week to make progress, because we're already making progress by coming together and helping each other and so forth. Yeah,
I agree.
And then
I agree.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. And yeah,
No,
I'm
but,
looking forward to discussing this
moment.
more and sharing the roadmap.
I
soon too.
agree. I agree on what you said. We are making progress. Sure, we are making progress. But when someone from the external asks, what progress are you really doing? And you say just, oh, here we are doing good progress every week. Sure, but now the milestone should be that we vote on a proposal. And I think the proposal with the vote token and the other token to bridge ƒractal between, so the proposal of Dan, it's a nice proposal that could be improved, but we have not to wait that until all is perfect to vote something. Otherwise, I don't know what we are doing. That was stated by Daniel Arimer himself. You don't have to wait until the full fruition of something. You have already to do something. Otherwise, you never go forward. So that's the point. Okay, Felix.
Yeah,
sorry.
I agree. I was going to respond to that briefly, saying I completely agree. It is an interim consensus process, so we should treat it as such. It's not a permanent decision, but at the same time, like Daniel Armour also made a great point, sometimes things that are proposed as an interim can get stuck in that way.
Yeah,
like, for example, the interim move off the gold standard and so forth. So like we do want to be careful and be sufficiently prepared, but it's not going to be perfect in every sense of the word.
If
And
something is wrong, we can change.
I also, well, not necessarily too, because I mean, you could get irreversible decisions too. So that's one of the things you want to be careful for.
But we are not dumb here. We are people that are speaking. So if something is not going as should be expected, we are agile. We will change something into the road. We are resilient.
That's true. There's lots of hands raised, and I see if you'd like to start and talk, but I'll just say that I just shared 2 links to the votes proposal and then also general interim consensus process in the chat. And also I'll share this page too, which has a page that I'm working on about things that Eden Ƒractal are doing. So yeah, I encourage people to check out this proposals and would love to hear it, but I'll pass it on now. Thank you.
Okay, sweet. Thank you. All right. So I think at the most basic level, I think we should do it right now, right? Let's vote on the next, so the hour after breakout rooms. Let's break up like what? I don't know. We can figure out the time, but just for simplicity, let's say the first 30 minutes, right? Let's use the first 30 minutes for anyone who wants us to do a 5-minute pitch on a proposal that they want to propose to the community. And then use the last 30 minutes to vote yes or no if we're moving the proposal forward. And then let's start there. We do that. And then from there, then we can slowly start to implement. But I think at the most basic level, this is how we're going to move forward. So now we want to add additional complexities to like what Tadas and Dan has worked on. That's cool. But I think what should be done is like, so like, let's say we accept this now, right? I think we should vote on this now. Like that for next week, the first 30 minutes is going to be used for anyone who wants to propose an idea. they talk about their proposal for 5 minutes, like do a little pitch as to why, and then we vote yes or no. If we were to take a vote on the proposals right now, my assumption is it would be no across the board. Why? Because of the complexity, and not everybody has had time to go through and read all of the proposals. That's why I'm going to continue to suggest simplicity every single week, and we add as we go. So right now, for simplicity reasons, I think we take a vote to say next week and moving forward, and we can change it, right? This is loose. This is a loose proposal, but we're every single week after the breakout room, we will talk about proposals that are going to be voted on in the last 30 minutes of the hour preceding the breakout rooms. And then from there, let's build on that. But I think that's probably the best way to move forward starting now. So I don't know. I'd like to hear thoughts, but I think we should do a vote right now on,
I'll just say,
that we're going to vote on stuff next week.
Absolutely.
I'll just say we
Well
do
said.
stuff. We schedule stuff for after. Get people to commit to stay, and it doesn't interrupt what we're already doing.
Yeah. So one
Okay.
thing I was thinking about time wise, right? If
this is
somebody
a
can't
guitar.
stay the extra hour, like for right now, like I said, we can build things where then we're posting on the blockchain using either consortium, whatever. But for now, the best way is to do it through this video. That's all the proof we need. If you want to vote, you got to be able to just at least say your vote on here. So if you can't stay the hour after, then at the beginning of so maybe the first 5 minutes, anyone who knows so anyone who's going to come and bring proposals next week, obviously it'd be better if you share them ahead of time, but then also give a 5 minute basically pitch on your proposal to the community for anyone who hasn't had time. And that's my thing, is like, I think the more complexity there is, I think it's gonna be harder to get to pass, because I don't think we need to be voting yes or no on something that's super complex if you haven't done the due diligence. And I don't think all of us right now have the time to go through every single proposal like as proposals come. So that's why I think it's important to have the pitch deck. But if anyone who has to leave early, if they have an idea of like how they want to vote, then they can just state it in the first 5 minutes after, post breakout room, saying like, hey, my name, like I taught his proposal, I liked his, I want to put my vote in yes, but I have to leave. And so then we will account for that. And then we add complexities later. But for now, I think just singular votes here on the video, and let's just move forward.
What a nice idea. It's a yeah baby moment. So music, Christian Chris, guitar. Yeah, baby, we will vote. Okay, so I vote for Dan, the best dog in the galaxy. And he will take all the 360-degree ingredient of everyone. And in order that we don't wait 2 months to vote, because Dan is an eternal man, we have to decide. So I am in favor of the Dan proposal. It's my informal vote. Voilà. And Chris Barnes, you should read the proposal and don't just trust. Because trust, what does it mean, trust? You have to read. You have to read.
So I'll suggest that we adopt or vote at least for Felix's proposal, like an immediate solution. And we set a deadline for us all to have read Dan's and Tara's and all written and more elaborate proposals. Maybe that deadline could be next week, so that by next week we decide which, according to current voting proposal, which is Felix, we decide which of those to implement and then begin to implement them. And then we'll have our minds occupied in doing actually something that will deliver some result instead of discussing things around here. How about that?
Fantastic. The physicist has spoken. That's just incredible.
Yeah. So I think obviously I want to hear everyone who's raised their hands before we take the vote, if it's in pertaining to, this proposal, and then let's do a vote. And any proposal afterwards, basically it's like, I'm adding this, or it's changing this of like I said, the most basic level, we're voting right here, right now. like through the camera. That's as much proof as we need.
Yes.
But I think, yeah, because, you know, I don't know. I mean, thing is, what I'm thinking is like, yes, we can. And, you know, I will go through the proposals, but every single proposal, like, I do think that there needs to be like, you got to be pitching your proposal though, too, so that we can't expect the entire community to have to read every single proposal that comes into play. You know, it may take a while for a proposal to get passed though, too, right? Because then it would be an educational thing. So if like, let's say, you know, we're voting on Dan and Tatis's proposal next week, but, you know, not everyone had enough time to go through it, or they still don't get it, then we vote no. And we just keep doing this until everyone feels comfortable enough and has answered the questions. And then, like I said, I think the best way to get things to be passed will be like very simple steps, where it'll be like, you know, instead of adopting the entire proposal of Dan or Tatis, maybe they start to think like, okay, well, first let's change this. Instead of voting on video, we're going to vote on consortium, and the deadline's going to be at the end of the day of the meeting or whatever. Like, that's an example of just the next iteration. And then from there, then it'll be like, okay, from there, we're going to vote on, do we want to accept the votes token and things like that. But that's how I think we need to iterate, instead of accepting one grand proposal right away and expecting everyone to have to do their due diligence and read every single proposal. Let's start simple and make iterations until we get to a point where we're all happy. And then that's going to help us with all of us being able to understand what we're voting on too. Because I think it's a lot. I've seen it, like, to have to go through and read and then like take the mental time to like comprehend all the ideas that's being proposed. And then to be like, oh, I'm going to take, it's like a yes or no, like all grand package. Like I said, we need iterative steps, in my opinion.
How about we also discuss this at the town hall on Sunday? We can
Yeah,
dedicate
but
towards discussing
was
the
there.
details of proposals. Anybody can ask
Yeah.
questions and so forth.
I was there, and that's let me think you should make a 2-minute maximum, because you are Dan the man, the best dog. You speak at 500 milliseconds, so you do your best pitch about your proposal in order that we have not to read even the proposal.
I mean, it's not that long, and everybody should read it. Like,
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, go.
As Chris was saying, like, they're both quite short, and you could probably read the Eden votes proposal in like less than 5 minutes, and Tadas's in less than 2 minutes. So
no, but
it's not really much.
It's complex. It's complex.
I mean, there's a lot of like small complexities
from your
too, but
beautiful voice. Say in 2 minutes what it is your proposal. I'm challenging you.
And would we be able to implement that like next week is the thing though too, right? So they're ideas, but we can't implement that until the votes token's created, and then we have it integrated with consortium. So that's what I'm saying, is like, it needs to be ready to be implemented, and then that's when it needs to be proposed to be accepted or not.
Yeah, so Vlad has his hands up, as well as Lenny and CSC, so we should respect that. But just to briefly answer, I asked Vlad about that last week, and he said that I believe it could be implemented within a few days. There's also a message I just asked to James Mart in the chat saying maybe it should be equal to level. So there are some design considerations that I think we should get first. But once we get that done, like, just figure out exactly how we want to design it, just like 2 different things that I think we want to answer the questions for regarding the timing and whether it's level or respect, then I think it could just take a few days to implement on consortium. But Vlad can speak better to that as well. And I will pass it on. I'm also happy, as Patrick was asking, to give a 2-minute overview of the pitch too, or answer any more specific questions.
Exactly.
But also, I'm happy to do it. But also, CAC and Lenny and Vlad have had their hands up for a while too, so I want to give them a chance to speak first.
Sorry. I am excited.
I was just going to put my hand back down like I have been, if you've noticed, but some information came in while I was waiting in my personal life that's making me feel a little bit better. I've been down the past month or so, feeling depressed and stuff, but I got some hopeful information. I'm not going to elaborate, but so I think I'll be a little more happy and stop fucking around so much until I hear other negative news. Thank you.
Thanks, CAC. Glad that it's going well for you. Happy to hear it. Lenny? You muted, Lenny.
Yeah, I got it. Well, I'm not going to say very much. I've been listening, as you have noticed, and similar. I've read both proposals. I don't like any one of them as they are. But also keep in mind, we have 2 proposals. Why do we have 2 proposals? Yeah, well, none of them is really the good one we want, is it? That's why we have 2 proposals. That's what I'm suggesting. Instead of keeping discussing this, we have Tadas, Vlad, Dan, James mentioned as involved in these ones. If they are willing, together with some volunteers, let's work out one proposal, yes or no, or amending, instead of having 2 proposals and half of us is not really happy with it, and we're going to start discuss it again. And I don't like, my feeling is we're doing the wrong way. We should have 1 proposal, but it should be a combination of these. I see possibilities to join the 2, but each one standing by themselves, I see flaws. So that's my proposal, but actually 3 weeks ahead, proposal 1, a proposal out of what we have is proposed to the team. A week after, we take a vote, or during that week, we have a discussion on it. And for now, we do as we do in the breakout rooms or here. We lift a hand, yes or no, for any smaller decisions to do. Easy enough. And then we set a working group, and I proposed, they have to agree, Tadas, Vlad, Dan, and James. I would volunteer, others should be able to join, and then we work on this Telegram group, Zoom as we need, and join these together and any other variations. That's my proposal. But you may vote or whatever you want. I have no problems, whatever way you do. I flow with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lenny.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll just say thanks. Great points. I'd be happy to participate in that working group with Vlad, Tadas, and whoever else is interested in participating. I think those are great ideas. One thing I'll also mention too that hasn't been, I don't think I've explained here on the call, is that there's a lot of like kind of open discussion topics amongst me and Tadas, and also a few other people. Like Vlad has shared some thoughts, Patrick has shared some thoughts in the Google Documents, and then also in the Eden Discord. So I'm very much looking forward to working with Tadas and like merging the best parts of these proposals. And I think that to some extent this might be easier if we do, like, the community kind of outsources it a bit. If you're not interested in reading and participating, to, like, you know, me and Tadas and Vlad or whoever else is interested to discuss it, because there are things that, like, I'm in communication. I just haven't had a chance over the past week to message to Das, but I'm looking forward to figuring out what the best way is, and working together with him on that, and merging to make one great proposal.
Yeah, we have the opportunity here that's not available other places, working together to write something. It's already been done with Fractal Fiction.
Yep, good point, Marco. Vlad?
Do I understand correctly that the next week we will vote either for Dan's proposal or Tadas's?
I thought we were doing it right now.
How can we do it right now if everybody has?
Yeah, we can do an informal vote, and let's do a pitch of Dancing Joy in 2 minutes.
I mean, if we vote, we need to have some kind of how we interpret the result. So
No,
And we're going to,
are
we gonna-
today?
if we're taking a vote, if we're taking a vote on video and we all come to a consensus, do we post it on the blockchain somehow or no?
We could.
It's up to us if we want to. One thing I just remembered too is that we could start with the votes proposal without having it on chain too. We could just do it, you know, informally in spreadsheets and stuff, with like the spreadsheet that Jorn made, so there wouldn't be any technical barriers to do that immediately. And then Vlad, I think that Felix was suggesting that doing it next week. I would advocate against it, and Tadas isn't here, and Tadas would also advocate against rushing too. So I would recommend that we don't set a deadline now or next week, but
No.
more proposals,
So
and like just decide and so forth.
What's the point of informal vote?
I don't know, just to like kind of gauge like more of a signaling to see what people think. But I think for the actual proposal, when we actually initiate it, we should wait. Perhaps do it next week. Hopefully do it next week. And I'll work a lot with Tadas over the coming week to get it to a point where it's ready. But I don't think it's ready right now, and I hope it will be next week. I understand a lot of people do want to do it by next week, but certainly if not next week, then with the next few weeks, I think it's a priority.
Can you do a pitch now?
Well, so I'm suggesting that we vote on just basically using the next hour post breakout rooms for starting next week to vote on proposals, and then until anything else changes, if we accept another proposal, then that's what we end up doing. But for now, this I think is probably the best beneficial way to use the hour after our post breakout room, because it's voting on stuff. It's giving us direction of where we're going. So that's my reason why I think we need to adopt some type of proposal. And for me, my proposal is let's just do it very basic. We're like, right now we'll take a vote to say we're going to accept taking a vote on video in the post hour on any proposals of the breakout rooms of every meeting until it gets changed through this proposal process. But this starts it.
That's the lion power. Fantastic.
So if everyone's cool with that, then I think let's do a vote right now. We can all lower our hands, and then we can on the Zoom, and then we can do a yes, no vote by raising our hands, yes and no.
If you don't want to raise your hand, raise something else. If you have not hand.
And if you abstain, do it in the chat. That's the third option if you don't want to vote.
Well, so two things. One, I'm not totally sure. I'm sorry if I just misinterpreted, but Felix, I'd appreciate it if you want to rephrase that. But also Vlad and CAC and Jorge also still have their hands up too. So maybe we should hear from them first.
I think it's my turn. I'll say that we do as Felix is proposing. We raise our hands today to decide that the
Jorge agrees.
Well, nice frozen.
To decide what?
Maybe.
Sorry, you just froze there for a second, Jorge. You froze for like 5 seconds. You want to just repeat your last sentence or two?
Okay, so I was saying that I support what Felix is saying. We vote right now by raising hands as to whether next week, the first hour after the breakout rooms, we hear pitches from Dan and Taras regarding their proposals or their common proposals, and we vote on those pitches and we accept them. Whatever happens, and we take that interim consensus from that day on, and then we iterate on it, and then we have some advance. We can build upon it.
It's not frozen in the stone. We can continue, iterate, agile. So we are a startup here. So
yeah, so I mean, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. So we have right now what 11 of us. I don't know what. I mean, let's first take the vote and then see if that's if we're good with that. It's informal, right? But what's stopping us from next week saying, okay, we're voting on something, right? So we're doing it, and we're saying, hey, we're voting right now, saying that we're agreeing as a community that next week and every single week moving forward until something else is implemented, we're voting on we will take the first 30 minutes to introduce any proposals to the community to vote on, and then the next 30 minutes is used to vote on that proposal, yes or no, and yeah, on video. And like I said, anything.
Let's vote on voting. Let's do it. Right now, let's vote on voting.
No, but that's different from.
Yo, I got a hand.
But because we need to respect the work that Dan and Taras have already done thinking about this. So if we just switch to raising hands, we'll be throwing that work to the trash.
No, because they can get it implemented through iterations is my idea, right? So like they can propose theirs. I'm going to be honest, if I don't have time to read it and they propose the full thing, I'm going to vote no next week. If it's to jump right away into a whole new system, I need something simpler. Like it needs to be, okay, the next step is we're voting on consortium. I can vote yes on that, right? And then the next step is, okay, now we're going to be doing with votes tokens, but it needs to be in steps. I'm not going to vote for something yes unless I have the time to go through everything. And so that's what I'm saying. If I don't have time this week to go through it, my vote's going to be a no. But what I'm proposing here is just a very simple, basic level of like nothing stopping us from doing this. but now we're informally, formally kind of as a community saying, hey, we're all kind of agreeing that next week we're going to take a vote, yes, no, on a proposal, instead of like, we're saying, well, like, we haven't decided a date, but now we're saying next week we're going to give a chance for everyone who wants to do a proposal, and then we're going to lock it in and vote on it.
So the first proposals hopefully will be those of Dan and Taras regarding the current proposals of interim consensus, right?
Yes, but will it be formal or informal? In a sense,
This
will the
is an
result-
informal, formal vote.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
But
Okay,
will we accept
we
it
go
next
or we
week or
don't
not?
go? Okay.
What's that, Vlad?
CAC has his hand up, and then I just want to say something. real quick.
Well, Vlad was asking a question too. I didn't hear it though.
No.
Next week we have the vote, and some
Thank you,
proposal
Vlad.
gets,
Thank you for your
let's say,
positivity.
majority.
Yeah.
Not positivity, objectivity. Just
Yeah,
there is
yeah,
no point
objectivity.
in
Yeah.
informal.
But it's positive also. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, CAC.
Oh, Macbird Sparrow.
Please, Chris, go ahead.
No,
Well,
Christian,
CAC
please.
is not going to go. I'm just going to say, let's just keep what we're doing here healthy. So anything we do
I have a
as
stroke.
formal or proposal to follow the
It's not how
follow
a
the,
what a stroke looks like.
working consensus. So maybe 5 minutes if people do arrive early.
Respect, guys.
Otherwise afterwards.
That's an historic moment. We will vote. 3 weeks for that.
Are we voting now?
I'm ready.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if no one has any additional comments, let's do a vote. So I guess I'll make it very clear, so it's kind of easy, right? This is all on video, so probably best to do hands, since we don't see the actual like gesture of the hands on the video. I mean, it makes it a little bit more like real, right? Because this video is like posted, it's just like posting on the blockchain. So we're gonna raise our hand if we are accepting to next week and every week moving forward, we will use the hour after the breakout rooms to propose to do a proposal pitch and then vote on it. So ideally the first 30 minutes, no time is that doesn't need to be complex. Basically, we're using the next hour to propose proposals and then vote on them until things get more set in stone. Simple. So I guess if you vote yes, raise your hand.
Before we vote,
Can you rephrase that?
Okay, so
Honestly, I didn't know you were making a pitch.
okay, so raise your hand if you are for using the post hour of the breakout rooms to come with proposals and then to vote for proposals. So anyone can come and propose their idea of like, they can submit a proposal to the community and then it's voted on in the next hour until we start to, and then, yeah, from there we'll build. That's what I'm proposing.
Yeah, but then
Sorry, I have a question before I raise my hand.
I also have a comment.
Can you repeat that in a simple sentence?
Yeah, I can, but Dan has his hand up.
No, that was not
Yeah.
for you, Marco. That was for
Let's
Felix.
respect hands.
I can. This is two people concurring on what Felix said. But
okay,
Dan
yeah.
has his hand up.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'll share some thoughts. Currently, I would not raise my hand to support this informal proposal, I suppose, for a couple of reasons. One is that some flexibility is helpful. Like, say if we have a bunch of new members, then we don't necessarily want to just have to talk about the proposals during that time. And it's nice to be able to talk with, new members and keep it more casual in some cases. Two, I think that any proposal that we pass should be written so we're exactly clear, because as Felix has been explaining it, he's been explaining it, slightly different ways every time. And I think there's a lot of confusion over what exactly we're proposing. So I would say, Felix, I mean, this could potentially be good, but I would say write it out. It could even be a sentence or two sentences, but that way everybody's clear to what they're agreeing to. And then three, also, I'd like to suggest, I suggested before about discussing this during a town hall, but it's easier to often talk about things and listen to things rather than read things. I think it's pretty short to read what Tadas and I have done, but I think that it's a good idea to discuss this during the town hall. So I encourage everybody. We can also do it during a different time if that works better for people. But I think maybe I'll put out a tweet about this and link to it and so forth. And then if anyone wants to discuss it in more detail there, I think these are helpful discussions for in general. But yeah, those are the 3 points.
Can we profit that you are now
Okay.
into this room to make a pitch?
So
Reiterating,
I
Felix?
wrote it simply and I can state it, but if you want to go real quick, CAC, if you had some comments, but yeah, I wrote it like a simple 2-sentence thing. Hopefully that makes it a little bit more easier to vote yes or no.
Okay.
Where
I
is
just,
this writing?
I just wanted to make a proposal real quick on, I guess, who here would like to fork from this Eden Fractal and start a new Eden Fractal that will actually take action and make stuff happen than just talk every week and accomplish nothing? I would like to put that up for a proposal.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna take that
reiterate,
as sarcasm, but I mean, you're making a point. I get what you're saying, to a certain extent. So I don't know, Dan, if you have something else, I'm gonna read out the thing and then we can take a vote from there if everyone's cool with that.
Okay. Do you mind pasting it in the test chat and in the text chat as well? Thanks.
Okay. Yep. So it's in the text chat. So I'm reading it from the text chat on Zoom. This is just for video purposes, I guess. So raise your hand if you vote to use the next hour after the breakout rooms to pitch proposals and then vote on the proposals. This is a loose proposal so that it can be flexible. It's not bounding us to anything, but right now that's what we're going to use if we accept it. So raise your hand if you vote yes.
Got a foot.
I'm not sure.
We got 3 hands and a foot. We got 4.
Okay.
Okay, so we got I mean, does your foot okay, Chris is okay. Just gotta be, I guess we're gonna be technical. So we got I seen so far
7.
2.
Yes.
So myself, Chris, Jorge, Patrick, Chris, Barnes, Marco, and Gian. So that's
Now, don't take my arm out of context. I'm not doing what you think I'm doing.
All right, good, because
It looks like
they-
you're just
they're not for
reaching for
democracy,
something.
I don't think.
And Patrick
am
is
an
being an
antelope.
antelope.
8 with Dwayne.
Yeah, we got, I think we got it. Do we have a picture? Enough for
So we have a
picture?
consensus. I will be really happy we have done this 2 hours ago. Now Dan can come with a pitch with his proposal for next week and argue all he wants about it, and then we can vote and iterate on this process. Now we have something.
yep.
Same with
Nice stated.
the only thing I'll add is that those pitches will need to be RSVP, I mean reserve it, so that we don't have random people asking for 5 minutes, but people reserve in advance. For the time.
Did these proposals have to be posted anywhere in text?
That's one of the proposals.
I would say
Yeah,
yes.
so-
I was behind that.
So
I'll
real
say
quick,
yes,
so
better.
we had 7 out of 11. That's 63%. Is that number sufficient
8.
for us?
We had 8 because Duan
we-
also voted.
Majority sufficient for this.
It was 8. So myself, CAC, Jorge, Chris Barnes, Patrick. That's 5, right?
Lenny, Lenny,
Well, Lenny
Marco.
abstained.
Then you
prefer
abstain.
to abstain.
Marco, Dwayne, and okay, Dwayne
He's from
voted yes. So
Sweden.
Gian.
All those guys there are abstaining. It's normal.
Okay, so 8 out of 11. Okay, 8 gets us to where we need to be.
And Chris
Okay,
is from
sweet.
Canada, so
Yeah. So. Okay, and sorry if I interrupted anyone. I just wanted to clarify that. But I mean, again, it is super loose, right? So in Dan's like example, if we have a bunch of members like this core community, we can figure it out, right? We're here. We're spending like
that was
we're
a
3
test.
hours into this. So like everyone here, his voice is very important, right? We're committed, so we can figure it out. But that's the idea is like, let's start, if we start to see potential problems or problems are starting to happen, then this is how we can start to iterate. but that's what I'm suggesting though too, is like, so if you have your proposal, post it in the Discord, create discussion over there. But again, I think simple steps is probably the best way to get a yes, no pass as far as like how I'll be voting. If I don't have the time to read through it all, or some things don't make sense, I'm just going to vote no. Like, I just want something very simple. Like it'd be like, next steps is like, okay, if we prefer to vote on consortium, like I said, that's probably the next step of like, where do we want to actually start to officially cast it outside of just a yes, no vote on the video?
I'm probably gonna vote no unless we have some sort of merge in proposals, as Dan had said and I had said before, that shows that the people actually writing this stuff are working together, considering things. Other people have said some things aren't necessary, so at least there's work, and we just don't leave an idea out.
I agree that we should not be posting this video publicly.
Chris did say on the website, and we've mentioned many times, that if you're not comfortable with video, then we encourage you not to join, essentially, because I think
This
the video is really
process,
helpful.
it's been ridiculous. This is embarrassing, just what we just did. I think if other people are considering joining the Fractal and they see this, they may be.
Was in 3 hours about interim consensus
3
proposal.
hours
takes
for
time
that.
to
If they
come to
watch, if they're
consensus.
watching 3 hours of video,
Yeah.
they're interested. So we don't got to worry about that.
I mean, you could say it's
Ideally, I
embarrassing
agree.
when
We-
Satoshi was
Hopefully,
writing the
the
white
theoretical
paper.
community still, hopefully.
Anyway, I'll
Imagine
say
for
that
someone new,
uh,
he will be
we assign we assign roles. For example, there is a role of who is going to be responsible for doing the reservations. I mean, receiving the people who is going to reserve those 5 minutes time frame to do their pitch, and also there is another role I just forgot. Yeah, and also before doing the allocation of the time, make sure that the proposal is in written form, because definitely it's better that have, I mean, someone can come here and do a pitch, a very nice pitch, but then his own mental process is going to be different if he does the same pitch 2 weeks after. It's better to have the things in written form, even if
That's actually part of the
everyone
proposal.
is about to read them.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
part of the proposal that was left out that I asked to clarify. So bear that in mind when you vote for the proposal, out presentation.
Yeah, both Tadas's proposal and mine, I think, call for proposals should be written in written form, and also posted onto a blockchain, public database, IPFS, something like that, so it's clear what everybody is agreeing to. So I do think that we should do that either way, and the sooner we can do that, the better. I'd also like to ask too, because we've talked so much about the urgency of the proposal and when we do the proposal, but we haven't still discussed like details of the proposal. So I will take the opportunity to kind of satisfy Patrick's request in some sense of just like providing a brief overview of the votes proposal, and then also just to provide like a very high level overview and TLDR of the difference between the votes proposal and Tadas's proposal. So essentially the main difference, like there's certain things that Tadas and I are still both working out, like when should you be able to vote and how much time should there be required to vote? Can you just make a proposal and then immediately pass it? Do you have to wait 3 days or wait a week? There's a lot of details that both Tadas and I are both figuring out about that, and we're not sure what's best. But essentially, like the main difference between the proposals is Tadas made a proposal whereby there's a council of 6 people, and those 6 people are the people who have the highest average level over the past 6 weeks. It changes every week potentially based upon who gets different levels. People who have the highest level of the past 6 weeks average form a council, and then 4 to 6 of those people can agree, and whatever those 4 to 6 people agree to is what gets passed. That's essentially Tadas's proposal, whereas the votes proposal is we make a new token that's basically equal to the Eden token, but it's never ever tradable, and we have it where we can vote with that, where so it's not just 6 people who can vote, but it's everybody can vote. People who have earned more respect and who have participated in more events can have a larger vote, but everybody can vote. You can look at the blocks account, so you can see, you know, different people have 3% of the vote, 4% of the vote, 1% of the vote, and so forth, depending on how much they've earned and so forth. But that's really like the core difference between them. And so I'd be very interested to hear if anybody has any thoughts, like specifically regarding, like, I guess the philosophy between these, or if you have any preference between whether you think it's better to have a council of 6 with 4 to 6 making decisions, or if we have it where everybody can vote and you have to get 66% of the votes total to pass a proposal. Does anybody have any thoughts about this in general?
Well, I got a question. I mean, obviously this makes sense. Like if we propose that, like your proposal with the new token, who's going to be the one, I guess, which developer is going to be working on that and how much are they going to be compensated?
So thank you for the question, CAC. Good question. So first off, we can implement it without being on chain first. Like we can just do it in a spreadsheet and then we could affirm it like during the call that this was done, and then we could sign a transaction that it was done or something like that. But we don't need any technical development. We could just do it in a spreadsheet similar to how the ƒractal team is doing, and Jorn and Tadas already made spreadsheets that we can use for that. So it'd be pretty simple to implement. Also, during last week's call, I asked Vlad how technical difficult he thinks it would be. He shared some details and some, potential obstacles and so forth with me. I'd be happy to share those with the community. I also spoke with Vlad about largely this for like 3.5 hours this week. But my understanding is that it's pretty simple. Vlad could probably do it in a couple days. And I have funding that is available from my chief delegate funding to pay for this, if that'd be helpful, although I still don't know the specifics of it.
Nice talk, nice words by Dancing Joy, always very open. That's the quality of you, for sure. You are so open that we have sometimes to be a little bit pushing, like today, to arrive to the conclusion that we have to vote now. That's nice.
So open, he's closed.
400 degrees.
So stucked is fucked. So we don't have to be stuck. We have to be strong lions mentality. Okay, so
right.
Go forward now and vote. Okay.
So it's like, and so far, like Patrick has expressed his support for a votes proposal. I also think the votes proposal is for the best, although I'm looking forward to merging some aspects of it with the DOS. But generally, I think that it's much better for the community if everybody can vote. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear if anybody else has any general thoughts about this or questions. And also Lenny has his hands up too. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing your thoughts, Lenny.
Just before we separate around here, I just came to think of one thing which I haven't even checked myself. I mean, every time we open the vote app, it says sign the agreement, and that's been a tentative agreement. I have not read that in combination with the proposals. Have you guys looked at it, that it really conforms to the agreement you have in place?
That's just copy and pasted. I think Vlad or James did that. Just copy and pasted from the Genesis ƒractal contributor agreement. So
it's not adopted yet, is it?
No, it's not adopted. I haven't signed it.
So we don't have
I don't know if anybody.
We don't have a constitution, so to say. All right, sorry.
Yeah, well, we want to, and Josh would provide an update about the Genesis ƒractal contributor agreement. It seems like it's coming soon, so hopefully this week it'll be out. But once it gets done, I think that we should implement that. But right now, that's
yes, we need to be synchronized. They must be synchronized, so we don't break the rules from the start.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been over 3 hours, so I'm going to be heading out here. But I guess some quick comments, Dan, as far as like your proposal, and then Tadas is not here. My main thing, my questions will be like with your proposal is what is changing then, right? So next week we're doing our votes on the video. My thing is, what if we accept yes, what changes next week when we go like to vote or to what will change as far as like proposals? I do think we need to I think it's makes sense that every week we need to have some type of proposal as far as the proposal of like what direction are we going, what are we valuing this week, whatever. But that will be my main question is like, if we accept your proposal, what is changing with what we're currently doing? So then it's a little bit simpler to vote yes, no. So then we know like the ramifications of what we're voting on. Because again, like I said, until I see like what problem that you're addressing other than like a problem that we're actually experiencing, unless it makes a lot of sense, like, okay, I can see that problem being down the road, I can't accept anything yes or no, because that's just too far out. But yeah, those are just the only comments I kind of want to add as far as like kind of what I'll be looking forward towards next week. And I think I have a proposal. Like my proposal will be very simple. It'll be like, okay, I'm going to propose to, for the time being, if we're still using this next week, or I mean the post hour of breakout room to like, let's break up the hour. Like, okay, we're going to set a time where 30 minutes is the amount of time that we're allocating to pitch proposals. And then the next 30, we have to vote yes, no. If we don't get to all the proposals, then it's just all no at the end of the hour. So then it locks us into being timely and a little bit more professional.
Thanks, Felix, for sharing your thoughts and asking the questions. To just provide, I'll also work on, because the proposal does get into some other details, so I'll work on making just a more streamlined version that specifically points out what will change. But just to provide a high-level overview, I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 things I can summarize. One is that we'll vote with votes token, which is essentially in the current state equivalent to the respect token. So I just shared in the chat. You can scroll down a little bit and see the pie chart and different percentages of votes that people will have based upon this proposal. So different people have, between 0 and 10% of vote. And basically how it works is anybody who wants to make a proposal needs to make the proposal on consortium. I have it where you have to make it a week in advance. We have time to think about proposals. And then during this meeting or during the hour afterwards or 2 hours afterwards, we would vote on the proposal, and the proposal would need to get at least 66% of the votes from everybody who participated in order to pass, and then it would pass. There's also a thing where you need to get at least like 33% of votes total. So it's not just like one person can pass it, but that's basically the essence of it. Does that all make sense to you? And does that sound good?
Yeah. And the marketing pitch of the proposal of Dancing Joy is this one. Concerns have been raised about scalability and ownership. Dogman has taken into account the remarks of the Wednesday's meeting on the 7th September. I am in favor of this proposal votes because more inclusive, more fractal, scalable, repeatable, and a smart startup full spectrum oriented pendulum. What is the full spectrum oriented pendulum? It's part of the spectrum is participation, contribution, leadership, behavior, and building a collaborative culture on EOS. After reading it, I am confident as the newcomers will be about this proposal. More avenue to the hidden fractal DAO in the building. And that will be a solid framework with clear specification, because the dance proposal has specification into it. So nice specification, room for improvement, agility to scale, for development and marketing. So specification for development and marketing. This proposal of interim consensus process is something really innovative in our loosely coupled circle, hidden fractal. And when needed, when the time comes to create bridges with other circle. And how to create bridges with other circle? Because Dancing Joy has separated the vote token and the hidden respect token, right? You have separate, you earn vote token by participating into this meeting. With this vote token, you will be able to vote. Okay, so this proposal is very innovative, and when needed, when the time comes to create the bridges with other circle. The legal aspect, that's my only concern. The legal aspect has to be seen, but starting as a non-profit organization, a UNA, as a non-profit organization, suits well. See you on next Wednesday. When I was written this into the Discord channel just after that. Dancing Joy was posting his Google Doc just after some hours that I have read. I was becoming in love with his proposal because he's taking into account not just the top level 6, because now I am into the top level 6, and suddenly I am leaving this hidden fractal for 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks in a row. That could be not only me, that could be someone else in the top level 6 because of life problem, because a new cat or a new dog, or maybe you have a new job, you have some freelancing or whatever. So he's taking in account the entire fractal, not just the top level 6, by separating this vote token and the hidden respect. And the Tada's proposal is a nice proposal, but it's very low level. It's like if you read already a white paper. I remember when I was interviewing Tadas about overlay blockchain protocol Albedo with Dancing Joy, we have interviewed Tadas without even that he read his white paper. Otherwise, we will never know what it is albedo. So that's good to have document, but that's good that you have someone that is doing a marketing video oriented business and Dancing Joy speaking rapidly and synthetic. So that's my impress on this proposal. And I am not in the rush to vote. I just want that we come to the conclusion today. That's the time to push the finger out of the ass. Sorry, otherwise we are stuck here for 2 months. Sorry.
Okay, thanks for sharing your thoughts, Patrick. And yeah, I agree. But that's one of the reasons why I prefer the votes proposal, in that that everybody has a vote. If you can't make it for a couple of weeks, you don't necessarily lose all your vote. If you get level 4 consistently, then you still have a vote, or level 3 consistently, or whatever, then you still have a vote. It makes it more open and democratic, I think. So I like it for that reason.
And by the way, the formula of Jorge Ramos about the logarithm, about the power of what? Power of decision power was very well made, this formula. And all the work of Tadas also, I have donated 450 euros to Tadas to do this work. Okay, share the pot, do some beers and make an apéro, okay? So I just want to say, we have to move on. That's the startup way. And I think if Waxa was here today, or Gabriel Shaw, he will say, you have to be an incubate. You have to incubate yourself. So incubate yourself, exactly. We have to incubate us. And we have great people here, Chris Barnes, Lenny, that has not voted for sure. And we have other people, so we have to continue.
Okay,
and
cool.
now Chris is motivated
Sounds good.
for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's also been over 3 hours that we've been on, so I think that I might turn my video off. I'm happy to listen. I don't know, does anybody have any other questions about these proposals or anything else that we'd like to discuss first?
Bye.
Okay, bye, CSC.
No, I thought you were leaving.
Oh, no, well, I was saying that I'm going to turn my video off and listen probably, but I'm also happy to stick around and talk if anybody has any other questions.
Yeah, that's what
first.
I'm doing. I turned my video off because it's hard to look pretty all the time, so I like to turn the camera off so I can let loose a bit.
Yeah, it's nice to turn the camera off. It's also easier in the eyes, and you can go do
nice
other things
to turn
too.
the camera. What for an answer? Nice to turn the camera.
Chris is muted, by the way. I don't know if you're talking to us.
I love you, man. You are so open-minded. That's incredible. And you answer always. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your thought. And you never say something different. No, okay.
Well, I try to say different things, but thanks. I appreciate
you are good, man. Words. You are a good dog, for sure.
You too, Patrick. The best
you guys
line in the universe. What's that, Lenny?
I am a lion.
No, I just said see you guys around. My boss is back here in the house now, so I got to show some affection and
respect
attention.
to him.
Okay, cool. Great seeing you, Lenny. Thank you.
Manager. Okay.
Should we just wrap up the talk, or and just wrap it up?
Yeah,
here?
I'm gonna head out, but you know, it was a pleasure hanging out 3+ hours. You know, EOS Independence Day, might as well, right? So I'm sure I'll see you guys over at the fireside chat. But yeah, looking forward to next week. And yeah, we made progress here. I feel, you know, these conversations have led to some direction, so it's good. So hopefully we just keep moving forward. And
I would like to say something. Hey, Felix, I don't know if you heard me preach at that poker tournament on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I think maybe anybody here who can participate, that might be a good chance that EOS Nation is putting it on, because you get a vote, you get a play to fund a Pomelo grant. So maybe we can play for Eden Fractal or something. So the more people playing for the Fractal, the more chances have to win.
I am a bad player on the poker, so I will let go someone that knows how to play poker. Giant seems to be.
Yeah, I did see player. That CAC. I think it does seem cool, and I definitely, I think, you know, anyone here who wants to participate, like, you know, I feel like if you do well if you're good at poker and want to play, I definitely think you should. I think, I don't know, to be honest, when I read it, I was kind of surprised. I felt like I need to be a little cautious with it because I just I don't want anything being like the grant owner and then like playing for my grant to come back and be like a reason like to, I don't know, that it seemed a little weird, especially what happened with you know, the disqualified grants. I just don't want to, even though it's EOS Nation that's putting that and they're like tied with Pomelo.
It's specifically allowed in the rules. If you're the grant owner, you can play on your behalf.
It's also a lot smaller scale than Pomelo too, so I think they're probably a lot more chill about it here.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure if they talk about it, I'll listen and maybe look a little bit more into it. But yeah, those were just initial thoughts. I was just like, I don't know. Like, I know if it's Steph and he's with Pomelo, but that one to me kind of just, it seems a little, I don't know. I don't even want to say it because I'll probably cut this part on the video just because I don't want to cause anything. But it seems a little hypocritical almost because like, I don't know. That just doesn't seem like that would fit. Like if anyone else did something similar, would their grant be like in trouble?
Absolutely. I was interviewing Maurice Vanegas yesterday. That will be published on the 23rd. Maybe I will be no more into the EOS ecosystem because I do this video. But I do this video because Maurice Vanegas is a good man. He has made a lot for for Venezuela. That was not his fault. And Uganda and Nigeria, he has great Pomelo grant on Pomelo. He was banned. He was treated of cheater. We had a video yesterday. We tried to do our best professional video, but speaking the truth, we are not hypocrite. So that will be published on the 23rd. You will let me know what you think. That will be a video very well forwarded everywhere for sure, because that's a video where we speak the truth. And BP cartel, that's harsh word for sure, but Chris Barnes knows that very well. BP cartel, there is a kind of some BPs that are doing some arrangement for sure, but we are not here to judge. They were doing well on Pomelo, and dictionary was also a nice Pomelo grant. They are not banned. They can join again, but the decision by Pomelo sometimes let me think that's very objective, and they are not taking into account the intent of the people and what they are into their heart, soul, and mind. So Maurice, for that, you will see the video and you will let me know. And we have unveiled something beautiful in this video. Maurice Vanegas is the real executive director, and we have the proof with the image with Bill Steer. I don't remember his name, for the Jekyll Island documentary. This time he was coming with images because the people are not believing that he was the executive director of the Jekyll Island documentary. All that to arrive to this video of yesterday, where we have to convince the people because they don't believe if you don't show them some pictures. And so Eden Ƒractal also, we will show to the people that to the newcomers, that it is the place to enter. And we will do a business-oriented marketing, not just a marketing Disneyland to say, oh, it's beautiful, Eden Ƒractal, you are rewarded into Eden Respect, NFTs, EOS. No, that's more than that. Oh, come on, that's more than that, okay? Let's go. I don't know you, but I am very happy. I was upset, now I am happy.
Cool, sounds good. I'm glad you're happy. I'm happy too.
Yeah, you are always happy.
I'll give someone 10,000 EOS if they order me a pizza and have it delivered to my house.
Excellent, excellent.
Hey, that sounds like a good bargain. Give me your address, I'll get you some pizza. What do you want, Papa John's?
It was based on the whole Bitcoin thing back in the day. You're familiar with that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be like,
yeah.
Maybe when EOS gets down to,
EOS?
maybe when EOS gets down to 1 cent, which it probably will, then maybe.
What's the price of EOS now? I will check a look. Have a look. What's the price of EOS after the consensus upgrade of the Antelope Leap 3.1. We will see that. I will give you the answer. Oh,
And if you
bad
think I had
news.
10,000 EOS, you're crazy. I'm poor white trash. Until this shit moons, you know.
Where is EOS? I don't find EOS now. Oh, 41 position in coin market cap and $1.28. In the last 1 hour, we have raised of 0.44%, and now the price is $1.28. Oh, it's growing.
Going down.
Yoo-hoo!
I think most everybody here is probably at a loss.
I can tell you that there are people in Nigeria, Uganda that are, thanks to EOS, are living every day. So eat your pizza and come in a week.
Someone needs to buy
Yeah,
the
token 2049 events next week. So I mean, those are the things that I think those are drivers that I would anticipate. Like, yes, we had the hard fork, and that's more of like more speculative, but you know, once this is being announced and the Trust EVM has a booth where they're able to showcase like the technology, then you know, then that's easier to get more onboarding, more people actually have a reason to buy EOS. So
but you know what, Felix, we are ready when the price will go up. We will be ready because we have make all the groundwork that has to be done and not be driven by the money. We have not to win, we deserve to win. It's totally different. And the money, we are not driven by the money. I was never driven by the money. But to be honest, I will be very happy if the price is better, for sure. Who will not happy with that? For sure.
Yeah. Well, we need results this next year in the price, because there's a lot of people like capitulation is going to be like, if it already, I mean, most people have capitulated, but yeah, I've seen some comments. Some people are like, I've been in EOS for 5 years. Like,
yeah,
you know, they're hurt. And even like, you know, I have hope, and I've already looked at it as a sunk cost at the worst case scenario. Like, it is what it is. It's my lottery ticket that's in my back pocket is the way I'm looking at it. And so like in that sense, I'll never give up. But, you know, in a year, things need to change to keep my attention. If not, like, you know, and then it's not just myself. This is just everyone. I feel,
this is not only yourself. This is also a lot of people. And there are another category of people that they will be always here, whatever happen. And this hidden fractal, whatever happen, has to be a startup-oriented DAO, distributed with people around the world, collaborating between them and creating nice tools, nice project at societal, economical, and technological level. What it is hidden fractal. We pay respect to the people because by adding value, by collaborating. And whatever happened with the price, and whatever happened with Daniel Larimer, and whatever happened with EOS. If Daniel Larimer is not succeeding, is it a problem for our hidden fractal? Or if ENF has problem, is it a problem for our hidden fractal? No, we continue to do the things. We continue to do. I will be there.
This is a little off topic, but like,
Joy is also here for sure.
Anyone here watch Felix Staffelbaker's videos?
Yeah, I think it's complete satire, to be honest with you.
He's totally a bastard these days. No, sorry. No.
I think some of the things he says is like, it's interesting because like,
yeah,
you know, I still look, when it comes to block one, I still think like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't make sense that you're just going to kill your reputation like that. So
they will be back.
Yeah. And Bullish is going to be at token 2049. I don't know if you guys saw that tweet. And I was just like, yeah. So some of the things he says he's funny to watch, but I'm just like, dude, he's also saying some things that like,
it is
satire.
Can't
prove wrong, but you can't prove right either way. But it's interesting. He's funny. He's a funny dude.
No, he's a very funny guy for sure. And Chris Barnes also very funny. So we are all funny. So we know all the truth for sure. We know all the truth.
I have to watch
I gotta watch Stoffelberger at 2x though. He's too slow, but funny. I like watching him.
Yeah, 2x, yeah, for sure. Like me, when I am speaking, you have to put the button 4x if you want to 4x.
No, you're not slow. No.
So I am
Stoffelberger's slow.
curious
You're not
though
slow.
for everyone here, like
Yeah, I'm a
who
bastard,
has
for
watched
sure.
him, like what do you guys think? Like, I mean, CAC said it's satire, like he thinks it's satire, but do you think there's some validity to
The
what
only
he's
reason
saying?
why I said I say it's satire is like I found him. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't get that many views, generally, but it's like I mean, I thought it was. I didn't know what it was, but then I saw someone leave a comment on his videos questioning if it's satire or not. Then he responded like, and I forget what he said, but then I started wondering, oh, maybe he's just fucking around, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the guy anywhere else in the community, so I mean, I don't know what his role is with EOS, so I don't know how involved he actually is.
I offered to interview him a while ago. I PM'd him in Twitter and he responded and he said he wasn't interested in doing anything like that.
He's not
Right.
even involved in the community, so it might not be legit.
No, he's doing all
But
that
so like,
maybe
but
when the
what do you
price
think
will
his
go up. He
benefit
has a
is
nice
though, or
publicity.
like end
Nice
game would
market.
be of just like posting that type of content? Like,
He probably owns EOS. I think he believes it. I think he thinks Block One, if you watched him for all this while, he's been pretty consistent. He thinks Block One will come around and there's so many heavy hitters behind that company and they're going to turn something into EOS.
Yeah.
To his point though, Block One's still a company. They're still around. They still have a
Yeah.
lot of money. So I'm with him. I don't think they're out of the picture quite yet, as much as many folks in EOS would like them to be. They're not.
Yeah. Be ready that Brendan Blummer will go back to Daniel Larimer and give him a smack. I love you, man.
well,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
almost
All is
feel like
possible. All
this
is
is what
possible.
Block One wants, though, too. Like it feels like that's what they would
So
want
Chris
because
Barnes coming back to Daniel Larimer and
the
stating,
EOS
"I love
community
you, man."
becoming like independent in that sense and not dependent on Block One takes that target off Block One's back if EOS becomes big when it comes to like regulatory obviously I was tired of that being the excuse from Block One, but I still do think that there's some legitimacy there too, especially and this gets more into like the definitely probably like more tinfoil hat on like kind of what like Felix Stoffelberger kind of comes off on a little bit with like there's strings behind the scenes that's like setting this like world system up and though sometimes it makes me wonder though like how much of that is possible. It's just it is interesting and that's why I think it's funny to kind of watch because it's just like
I have
I
a
don't know.
news for you
Some
guys.
people they sound crazy, but some crazy people end up being right, and that's why they.
Yeah,
I have
the
a
thing
news
with
for
Block
you
One that
guys.
people don't know. I'm just gonna say one quick thing. That settlement with the SEC that Block One settled with wasn't conclusive. So part of that settlement was a 5-year duration that B1 had to remain squeaky clean. We're still within that 5-year term. So that is not well known that it wasn't just a settlement and your hands are clean, you're done. It's like it's a settlement and you still need to watch yourself for 5 years or they rip it up.
And so when's the 5 years in?
Another year and a bit, I think.
Just
Damn.
by the way, I've still been recording, so I'm gonna stop the recording now. And thanks everybody for the great meeting and happy EOS Independence Day.
Yeah. And I have